stories there that we've put together for you, most notably a story involving the West Valley Humane Society. Yes, I am a member of the board, concerning people coming in and dropping off a bucket load of puppies. And they said, hey, could you give us some ID? The people didn't want to give ID and just left the bucket load of puppies at the West Valley Humane Society. So, as I explained in the article, when you go there, they have to ask for your ID for liability's sake, not for your liability, but in case somebody says, hey, my dog was stolen or something of that nature. It's not like we're going to turn you over to the DEA or what have you. But anyway, also a story that we've shared with you. We've broken down some of the ICE arrests in our area. Of course, we'd give you a little different take on that. And I suppose that's where we should begin. And, you know, all we're hearing from our friends in the local media, sadly, is ICE is bad. And I have talked to, let's try that again, take two. I have talked to local law enforcement officers that say some of the training at the ICE people is less than desired. And that's not all of the ICE people. We can't lump this all in. And, you know, we have people saying, look, we've got ICE going to construction sites. And we all know, and Tea Party Bob has talked about this, we all know that people come into the country and they work illegally. And there are certain industries. In fact, you don't even have to say, oh, it's Kevin Miller. You have the people from hospitality, construction, agriculture, and I think one other that testified at the State House and said, we need the illegal labor. And please don't think I'm judging people by saying the term illegal labor. But people that are in the country without records are here illegally. Therefore, you are illegal. And there are some very good people. But on the other hand, it's like when you go to the movies and somebody gets into the movies and they haven't paid for the movies and you're paying for them and everybody else. There's a lack of fairness. So we have the media with the Wilder raid, which is, I still don't understand this. And again, I'm always trying to figure out how to get more people to listen to this program. Because sometimes it doesn't seem like it's a talk show. Like I can remember in 1994 producing a talk show for free, we're doing my job and then going and working for 4 hours for a guy named Dan Pierce. And in the old ways, you'd structure a talk show would be you would have a point, you would stick to it for an hour and go. Well, times have changed. And now with the advent of social media, you have user-generated content. I can remember being told by Peter Thiel, my first boss where I was paid, that, you know, open lines are the laziest thing that you can ever do with respect to Rush. Rush was, you know, everybody wanted to do open lines. But to me, it seems, you know, with Facebook and everything else, that is the way it's all going is, you know, user-generated content. So I look at this, and for those of you that have lived in Idaho longer than I have, I wonder why the media has become so progressive and so anti-ICE. And you're going to yourself, well, Kevin Miller, what do you mean by this? And at 580-5436-580-KIDO, we had the Wilder raid, the resulting lawsuits, and essentially what we have here is we have the media picking sides and getting one side of it, where we have people saying, well, there's an anti-ICE rally going on, and here's the information on if ICE comes, what you can do. Most of the people that are here illegally are not watching the 6 o'clock news. They're not. They're not watching the news, but they're doing their own thing. And, it's funny. I just don't understand this. And so then when we have the news media being anti-ICE, then we have people that have decided they're not going to listen to ICE. And then we have people that, again, are shocked that ICE is going to construction sites. I can remember living in North Carolina almost 20 years ago. Hard to believe. Almost 20 years ago. And there would be somebody that would go up to a construction site. They were redoing Carter Finley Stadium, where the NC State Wolfpack play, and somebody pulled up in a nice vehicle, and everybody on the site, mostly everybody, ran into the woods. Now, again, that was Obama still? Yeah. No, that was pre-Obama. That was Bush. And there was a story, I can remember reading about it from the Charlotte Observer, and I think the Raleigh News and Observer picked it up back when they had newspapers, and it was a Wall Street Journal story where I believe you had a bank that was giving loans to people that were here illegally, home loans, which was wild. And it was something that you think to yourself, what the heck is going on? I remember working at a place where we had illegals. I remember my boy, Bill LeMay, that he broke the big story. He was on the front page of the paper, and we got in trouble for it, which was wild. And now today, thanks to Donald Trump and Biden's bungled border policies, the tables have turned. And now all of a sudden we have people going into Napa, into Eagle. And instead of people saying, hey, here we are at 580-5436-580-KIDO, here we are, we're making sure that people that are working on your homes, your buildings, and everything else are here legally, we're going to vilify ICE. Now, Channel 2, they've obtained a video from a guy who wanted to be non-cooperative with ICE. I would look at things differently. We'll share that with you. Channel 7 had a big expose of ICE coming into Napa. And really what this is, and we could play this game. You have people either in the ACLU or that are immigration attorneys, and I suppose they're just doing their job, if you will. They feed, it's not like the reporters are listening to the monitors. They're too busy trying to make it on TikTok. But what they're doing is they're feeding these cub reporters that have the endorsement of their upper management these stories. And the challenge here is, ICE is not going to talk to the media because they get the unfavorable coverage, so you get the one-sided thing. And again, we'll share with you this story out of Eagle, and I'll grab that, and that was from Channel 2. Channel 7 had a story, and they exclusively left that on Instagram, if you will, where you have another, raid in Napa. And it's not really a raid when people walk around and go, hey, can I see your ID? Hey, can you show me, I guess you'd say, show me your papers. And in the story that I wrote, and again, it simply breaks down the other side of the story where you have people that have been arrested. There's a link in it from X where you have Pocatello, a Pocatello gas station refuses to help, or a restaurant refuses to help ICE because they decided not to cooperate, not to feed them. That's the crazy part about this, is it not? At 580-5436-580-KIDO. But those stories are not reported. So you get one side of it, therefore you get the liberal agenda. And look, that's why you have a news organization. You have to pick your lane. But to me, and this is an observation, not an attack, I don't understand why we're not getting both sides of the story. So both sides of the story is available on our website at 580-5436-580-KIDO, KIDOtalkradio.com. And all of a sudden it wasn't clickbait. And I have people that, clickbait Kevin. It was just, we just broke it down and then we put this video in and everything else. which is pretty wild when you think about it. Pretty wild. Let's see. We won't get to, let's see, what's his name? Well, why not? No, we've built this up. We're going to do what exactly what Peter Thiel taught us, in addition to Sean Hannity, which is, you start a topic, you keep going, you don't go all over the place. So this is the audio courtesy of Channel 2, where you have somebody coming up, and it's an ICE agent. And the ICE agent says to some guy, hey, man, we're looking for somebody. Let me see your ID. And here we go.
See who I am, immigration. I'm immigration. I'm talking to you. Put down the pole. We're working, man. Okay, I told you to put down the pole. I'm giving you an order to put down the pole.
Hey, sir, do you have any ID on you? Hey, man, I'm not talking to you. I'm working. You're working? I'm working, bro. Okay, where are you from, sir? Hey, I'm working. Can you get out of here? Hey, where are you from? You want to get out of here, bro?
Looking for somebody.
I don't care. I'm working.
Right, we're asking for you to identify yourself. Do you have an identification on you?
I don't.
You don't?
No, sir.
Right, what's your name?
You need my name?
Yes, sir.
I'm a legal citizen, sir.
You're a legal citizen?
Yes, sir.
Where were you born?
That's all I need to tell you.
Where were you born?
Sir, can you please help? Let me work.
I'm sitting still. Where were you born?
Okay, let me go around you.
Hey, where were you born?
I was born here, bro. Let me work.
Where at?
Let me work.
Where at? Where were you born?
I'm doing some real work here, buddy.
Awesome, man. Where were you born?
I can't let this country drive.
We're looking for somebody.
Okay, well, go look for him. Go look for him and don't bother me.
Where are you from?
Don't talk to me.
Okay, you can record all you want. Where are you from? You're from the United States?
Look at them.
Born here?
You guys are speeding through here, bro.
That's not us. Where are you born? United States? Oh, hey, easy.
Bro, you're walking into me.
I'm walking next to you.
Get off of me, dog.
Where were you born?
Holy
United
smokes.
Huh?
What's your name?
You were born in the
What's
United
your name?
States or no?
What's your name?
I'm asking you the
Dial
question.
the number.
Let's go. Okay, that's fine. He's not our guy anyway.
Well, so there you have it. There we have it. So, depending on your outlook, depending on your vibe today, you can look at things both ways. Now, the guy with the ICE agent was wearing a mask. The ICE agent was asking the guy questions. And apparently he felt compelled enough to diss the guy. And not only diss the guy, but film it. Get out of here. Your reaction when you hear that? If you're progressive, well, yeah, tell that guy to beat it. If you're somebody who is used to authority, chain of command, respect for authority, you look at that and you go, man, dude, that's the wrong way to go. Federal law enforcement officer says something, and it could have been escalated. I think the ICE agent did the right thing by doing what? By simply walking away. Now people are going to go, look at these masked thugs coming through. Look at all these people. Look at all this. It's crazy when you think about this. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It's just utterly ridiculous. And I'm saying to myself, hey, man, this is just wild. This is highly, highly confrontational. And then, you've got some people on X going, this is exactly how our constitutional rights disappear, one small violation at a time, until we're expected to accept the government treating our rights like they're optional. Two sides of looking at this. If you have nothing to fear, what's the problem? If you have nothing to fear, what's the issue? On the other hand, to me, how I look at this is, hey, man, these guys are doing their job. And if somebody asks you for something, what's the problem with being compliant? And then, again, we have people that take it to the next levels, and then we have more confrontations, and we have people being stuffed and cuffed, which is pretty wild. Very wild. Very, very wild. And that's going on here in Idaho. Now, the media is going to say, this is bad. This is horrible. This is something that we need to condemn. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. So much more going on there. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. As we take a look at just some of the stories today, are we still at war? Yes, we're still at war. Is the Strait of Hormuz open? Maybe. We'll see what happens. We have another of these stories that continue to happen more and more. And maybe we need to look at this as good news. A CUNA man was arrested in Meridian after allegedly, apparently, I can't really say what he was doing, but he was doing something inappropriate in front of two teenage girls at the Walmart parking lot. What was this guy thinking? The suspect, 31-year-old Dylan Myers, reportedly asked the girls if they wanted to, touch his appendage before driving off. To his chagrin, one of the girls recorded part of the interaction and his license plate. Myers was located and arrested on a felony charge of child enticement, with more charges expected in the case. So hard to believe that you're in a Walmart parking lot and you're doing whatever you're doing with yourself. We'll just say, we'll go Billy Idol. He was dancing with himself, if you will, and asked the girls if they would like to participate, and they shrewdly videotaped his encounter, and then now he is arrested. Not very good on that one. Again, like I said, phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And again, we go back to this ICE situation where you have people, again, you've got this immigration attorney, Nikki Ramirez-Smith, noted an increase in ICE enforcement activity in Idaho and stressed the significance of knowing legal rights during such encounters. The Department of Homeland Security has not responded to requests for comment on this matter. Well, I think that if we called ICE, they would respond to us. We would, give them an opportunity to have a fair, equitable exchange. Now, like I said, there are the good and the bad. And you do have these encounters where tragedies happen, and they should be thoroughly vetted and investigated. But the idea that we don't have issues. Look, we lost a husband and a father because someone was in the country illegally and vehicle manslaughter. We lost a little girl on Harrison Boulevard, the guy in the country illegally, and ICE came in and took them away. And we again, the news, what they do is they shrewdly go, wow, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal until it happens to you or your family. And God willing, it never does. Yesterday, 580-KIDO received an email from the president as he signed two executive orders cracking down on birthright tourism and narrowing who qualifies for automatic birthright citizenship in response to the Supreme Court's ruling that many conservatives view as an opening to the door of the abuse, another abuse of our immigration system. What does this do? It allows the Supreme Court to, in Trump versus Barbara, which found birthright citizenship to be constitutional right, a decision the president disagrees with. The first order identifies categories of children born to non-citizens who do not qualify for birthright citizenship, while the second delegates authority to shut down birth tourism outright. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller called the crackdown one of Trump's most consequential immigration actions, aimed to end what he sees as a grave abuse of the American system and keep American citizenship sacred. And that's what he was elected to do. He was elected to keep our country free and say what you want, despite everything else we're getting from folks. The president is doing this. And, of course, it will be challenged in court, and we will go back and forth again and again and again. But he's the only guy that has had enough guts to do something about it. He's the only guy that has had enough guts to do the right thing. And the right thing being what? Laying the smack down and saying, no, you're not going to come in here and have your kid and go back to China or go back to wherever and become a citizen. It's just not going to work that way, right? Let's continue on. By the way, the nation. Thank you. The nation continues to wonder if a Democratic socialist is going to be the first senator from the state of Michigan. Now, I guess you could say that Bernie is an old-fashioned socialist. However, here you have Syed, I like Syed being a tough guy, saying he's the favorite. We'll see what happens. Let's take a listen.
For that nomination, and now that he's actually become the nominee, Democratic chances have fallen dramatically. You can see it right here. Cast your prediction odds. Take a look here. Chance to win the Michigan Senate race. You go back to April at this point in the month. Dems had a 79% chance. Look how that number has fallen dramatically. Down we go into Lake Michigan. Now we're talking about just a 59% chance, while Mike Rogers, the Republican nominee, look at this, 21% chance, basically doubling, now up to a 41% chance. So the people who are putting their money where their mouths are quite skeptical at this point, or at least significantly more, to the Michigan Senate seat with El Sayed as the nominee, though I still should note he is the slight favorite here, but given Michigan being a purple state and given where Trump's approval rating is, I think it's quite surprising that his numbers are not significantly higher.
Let's talk about where things broke down and what that means for the future. El Sayed talks about, being the candidate for the working family, the working class. How did they vote for him?
Yeah, this I think is the big problem, right? Democrats have been hemorrhaging working class voters without a college education. El Sayed comes in, the great promise of him, some populist message, I can connect with those voters. Well, in the primary, it didn't happen. Take a look here. Okay, counties El Sayed won in the primary. 0 of 15. 0 of 15 with the lowest share of college degrees. Ergo, he did not win in those working class areas. Where he did win, he won 13 of the 15 counties with the highest share of college degrees. So you're thinking about Democrats having real trouble amongst the working class. El Sayed's support came dramatically from those areas. In fact, not where there is working class folks, but where there are highly educated folks, more from elite circles than from the working class circles. And I think there's real worries among Democrats. Will that transfer over to the general election and El Sayed continue to have the problems that prior Democrats have had with the working class?
You think that's not the only worry the Democrats should have here?
No, it's not the only worry because, the polling estimated El Sayed's primary margin by about 10 points. And I think there's a real question, will that happen in the general election again? Because the general election polling is quite tight. And what we know in Michigan is the candidate of the college degrees tend to be overestimated. Will that happen with El Sayed? Maybe, but I think it's just another worry in why this race has closed dramatically and the folks who are trying to handicap it.
Super.
There we have it. Let's go to the phones. We go to Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO.
Send ice to my subdivision, Kevin. Crestwood Estates, Nampa, Idaho. Let me give you an example of some of the stuff I've been dealing with. I've got a mail lady that won't deliver my mail because people keep parking in front of my mailbox. Any guesses to who that would be that wouldn't know city ordinances in Nampa? And may I just remind everybody that our friend Glenn got hit and I got hit by illegals in a car, and they didn't have insurance. Nobody covered it, and nothing was done. They get a slap on the hand. Kevin, if I had the health to do it, I would go join ICE right now. So ICE, baby, sign me up, send more. I don't care what these libtards said, that parents don't hold them accountable. What do you want to do? Have a crusade? Because that's what the far right's going to do if you don't let ICE do their job. We're going to have a crusade again, people. Maybe I'll go back to Michigan where I served my mission and do the Lord's work. You know what I'm saying, Kevin?
No, I agree. But, here's the deal. Why in the world would you not cooperate with the officer?
Because you know you're guilty or you have friends that you're trying to cover for. Just like we discussed yesterday, if you don't like when people hold you accountable, daddy and mommy didn't do it enough, or grandpa and grandma, when the officer comes to hold you accountable, you have no respect for authority, therefore you rebel against it. I think if you don't cooperate with officers, you should get arrested for it. At least a misdemeanor if you're not violent because you're not cooperating with an officer. If an officer came up to me and said, "Show me your ID," I'd pull out my concealed weapons permit and I'd say, "See, I'm one of the good guys. I've had it in 5 different states. I've obeyed all the laws. That's why I qualify for Social Security, because I'm disabled, because I worked for this country for years and years and years. And obviously people that don't obey the law and haven't done those things want to hide who they are or cover for their friends by being a deterrent to officers. It's time to grow up, people. I know mommy and daddy didn't spank you enough, but like Jordan Peterson says, if somebody doesn't teach their children the rules, then somebody else has to. Questions?
No, Brian, I appreciate it. What do you make of the leftist media, though?
They're doing what they've done. Kevin, my first degree, I went to Rick's College back in the day, now BYU, Idaho. I was in communications, bro. I was going to do what you did. But I went and interviewed Channel 7, Channel 6, and I was so disgusted on the report and all the behind-the-scenes stuff I did on the media, the regular media, not you guys, not the honest ones, that I picked a different career. I'm like, I don't want to work for those people. They have an agenda that's wrong. So I got out of communications. And how long ago was that, Kevin? I'm 54. Let's see, at the time I was 21. No, hold it. It was before my mission. I was 18. And even a stupid farm boy from Idaho can see it that far ago. And you don't think it's gotten worse since? It's kind of like I served my mission in Michigan. The crime, the violence that happened to me that was there when I was 19, 20, 21, and I'm a 54-year-old, you don't think it's gotten worse? Oh, I know it has. So what are we going to do? Let law enforcement clean it up, or are we going to have a crusade, people? Your choice.
Brian,
Pick one.
Brian, great call. Thank you.
You bet. Love you.
Love you. Do want to thank our friends at Window World Boise. WindowWorldBoise.com. Give them a call today at 614-3188. That's 614-3188. If you're looking for patio doors, siding, windows, Window World Boise installs energy-efficient windows, doors, siding, and much, much more, helping homeowners throughout the Treasure Valley. Call them. Call Yo on Chinden right there. Get a free quote. Limited time only, 0% interest for 18 months. You're looking at, again, making sure that your exterior is good to go. Now more than ever with that smoke, get those good windows to make sure your energy use is energy efficient, like we do here at the Kevin Miller House. So, again, take care of yourself. Get that Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. Their number, 614-3188. Financing available. They take service seriously through causes like Window World Cares, Window World Military Initiatives, all sorts of things. WindowWorldBoise.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Coming up next, we go one-on-one with Al in Ontario, 580 KIDO. Al in Ontario. Good morning, Al.
Good morning, Kevin. I've changed because I want to be part of the crowd. I don't want to be just one person who's thinking in my own way, because I need to be part of the crowd. It makes me feel. And so, I've changed my ways. Everything isn't connected to everything else. We have to just look at this ICE situation in a very narrow way. We don't want to look at it as like an education problem. We don't want to look at it as like a problem with our economics. We just got to look at it and say, it looks bad. It is bad, Kevin. We got to look at it very narrow. Okay. And it does look bad. The ICE agent is very judgmental. He's a very judgmental person. You shouldn't be so judgmental. My goodness, Kevin, what we have to do is be compassionate and humble. And that means you don't confront people who are just trying to make a living. We need to be humane. We need to make sure that, we really take these people and give them everything they want and everything they need in life, because they deserve it. We don't deserve it. Because the truth is, everything we have is stolen, Kevin. It is. It's been stolen. And if you can't see that, well, you need to have an awakening like I just did this morning. I woke up and I was listening and I heard what you were saying, and I said, I've got to become more like-minded, like the crowd. And so I am so sorry for everything that I said before. Kevin, I'm on your side now. If it looks bad, it is bad. Everything has to look good. I mean, you can't tell a book by its cover, but yes, we can. Yes, we can. That's the new phrase. You can tell a book by its cover. We have to look at everything in a very narrow way, Kevin. And so that's my pitch this morning. Just trying to help out so that people can understand, so they can get their psychology right. And we can give everything back that we stole, because everything was stolen. The West took advantage. Okay, maybe this whole continent was here for the taking and there was only a couple million or two people here. But the first Westerners should have put a foot on this continent, because the moment they did that, they stole the whole thing, all the hundreds of millions of acres and everything else, Kevin. We need to, that we are progressive, that we progress forward, not backward. We need to be like Spain. Run over the whole place. We need to let the people do exactly what they're doing in Germany and France. Okay, run out of energy, because we don't need to pollute the planet, and everybody can just be in their own little space and kind of cover up with covers. Use like 10 or 15 covers when it gets cold, and have these big old type fans, okay, like they do down in Cuba, okay, or like they do down, look at the old Soviet Union, take some pictures there, because those people were really progressive. But Kevin, a lot of people on your show, okay, what they want to do is they just want to take advantage, constantly take advantage of people who are like ignorant, and people who don't understand what's going on. We can't take advantage. Okay, what we need to do is learn our way of existing is really by helping other people, and that means helping them to have an easy life. They shouldn't have to work. Okay, they should be able to live their lives in a way that is much more fulfilling for them.
Al, I'm glad you've seen the error of your ways here at 580 KIDO. And for people just tuning in, the authorities ask you to comply, and you become a tough guy. What's that about?
Well, what I think is this, okay? Look, Kevin, it's all about education, really. So, but you see, the whole thing is, if I start talking about education, okay, there's no education. That's the problem. Okay, the people allow certain things to happen in this country because there's an education deficit, right? So when I'm talking about illegal immigration, it's connected to education. So our people have not been educated correctly to understand exactly what the parameters of immigration should be. Okay, and so since it facilitates, the illegal immigration facilitates those in power, what are those in power going to do? They're going to do what's in their best interests and funnel more of these illegal people in. So consequently, since justice is what's in the best interest of those in power, well, I guess, illegal immigration is justice, right? So, what we need to do is just understand, cui bono, who benefits, right? Always look at who benefits. And, every communist group, every socialist group, every group out there has always had at its very foundation monetary, pecuniary interests. That's really what it's all about. And so, but they'll try and tell the people, oh, no, it's all about you. Okay, we're helping you. We're taking care of you. Obviously, that's incorrect. But, if we get the correct education in our schools, okay, if we get the correct humanities education in our schools, then I think we will, start to understand exactly what we need to do in order to perpetuate the species. But, and then when I say the species, I'm talking about, the American people, right? And it has nothing to do with color. It has nothing to do with gender or anything else. What it has to do with is having a strong nation that can actually think at a high level and make the proper assessment of what needs to be done. Everything is connected to everything else. So we have to understand how the dots are connected, how it is connected to education and economics. And so we have to understand those two things, and psychology, of course, and philosophy and everything else. So if we don't understand the basics, then how can we understand illegal immigration, right? So everything is connected to everything else. And so, I really enjoyed your show yesterday, and I really enjoyed Dylan's comments. Dylan was very much on target. I think he was sounding like me yesterday, Kevin. You made that observation.
Yes. Well, if it's not about you, then, so be it.
Well, look, I mean, Dylan was absolutely correct in the things that he was saying. I mean, for a younger gentleman to understand the things that he was articulating yesterday, I think is commendable because, look, I mean, the reality is this. You know it and I know it, Kevin. Okay, everyone has to be judgmental. Why?
Well, hold on. But that's the thing. Nobody wants to be judgmental anymore.
Right.
Being judgmental ends with the Generation X generation. And the younger ones are more millennials. They don't want to judge. They don't want to do this. Hey, man, just do whatever you want.
Well, you see, here again, too, life is judgmental, right? I mean, it really is. Okay, and people are going, people are going to find out just exactly how judgmental life can be. I mean, look, it's not easy. It really isn't. We've been fooled into believing that everything is easy with the way our entire economic system has progressed for the last 50 years. But I think there's going to be a reckoning at some point when people understand that life is judgmental. And if you're not, aligning your judgments with the reality of life and of living a difficult life, then life is really going to be difficult on you. Okay. If you're taking it easy in life, life will not take it easy on you. It's just the way it is, Kevin. And so I appreciate your forum. I appreciate, the ability to talk, and I appreciate listening to all of the great commentary that you had on yesterday. You had on quite a few very interesting people yesterday. And, that's what it's all about, right? Having good, interesting callers call in. I love your callers, Kevin. I really do. And, Lucille was great yesterday. Bob was great, except now Bob wants to leave.
Al, thank you for the call. We love Al, but when Al starts doing review and commentary on the calls, we've reached our time limit. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, 580-KIDO. Make sure also Want to make sure that we're giving you the traffic report, so we're going to figure out what's going on next. 580 KIDO. Coming up next hour, we'll have Jeff Bacon joining us. We're going to talk about what life is like for sailors in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Also, we're going to talk about the fun run that's going to happen very, very soon. Instant gratification, that's all I'm going to say. Political cartoonist Jeff Bacon joining us coming up next hour. Also, we'll talk to our Boise State reporter. We'll call him Slim. Alex Simone will join us. His breakdown of the Boise State season. We'll have him on in the 8 o'clock hour. Let's go to the phones, and we go to Blair in Boise with Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO. Good morning, Blair.
Hey, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Not bad, Blair. As we like to say, let me have it, bro. Please go ahead.
Well, I appreciate your patience with Al. I think if he were a little less condescending and snarky and just stuck to what he wants to make as his points, he'd be easier to listen to. But yeah, I was listening to Sean Hannity's interview of a candidate, a Democratic Socialist candidate in Florida yesterday, and I thought what was interesting was, this guy's for all this stuff that is absolutely destructive to America. But what was interesting is Sean at the very end goes, so, do you believe in the statement from each according to his means to each according to his wants? And the guy goes, well, yeah. And Sean followed up with this question, and he said, okay, do you know who first said that? Because it wasn't Mamdani. And the guy goes, well, no, who did say it? And he goes, well, it was Karl Marx. The guy goes, really? I think it's just absolutely astounding that that we have a political electorate that doesn't know where their ideas have come from. That they don't know that the ideas that they're spouting off come from one of the most destructive political forces ever to be on this planet. I mean, what has Marxism done for this planet? Oh, let's see. Killed about 200 million people. Starved many hundreds of millions more. I mean, my jaw about hit the floor when I found out that this gentleman, I got to give him credit for going on Sean's program, but I mean, to not know where your political philosophy comes from was astounding to me.
No, I would agree with you on that. But remember, we're in the TikTok age.
There's still a lot of good people putting out stuff on the social services, the social media. I mean, Nick Freitas, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's I forget whether it was a House of Representatives or a senator from Virginia in the Virginia House. He puts out videos just about every day talking about stuff like this. And so, I mean, you can find good stuff out there. You just have to look beyond the superficial, and you have to look for principles. And that's the thing that kills me is about these Democratic Socialists is every single one of their principles is backwards. Universal daycare. Universal daycare isn't about caring for the kids. It's about destroying the nuclear family. Marx admits this. He doesn't like the nuclear family. He doesn't like the fact that moms are absolutely critical in the first 5 years of life to bringing kids up. And dads are the way that you keep kids out of prison. It staggers me how they've adopted principles that will destroy society. And they have destroyed society, and you can see it. There are open examples in history, and you don't even have to go outside of this country for a lot of them. You can. I mean, sure, you can look at the Reichstag. You can look at Germany in the 1920s and 1930s. You can look at Russia following the October Revolution, clear up through Stalin's reign. You can look at Mao. You can look at Pol Pot in Cambodia. You can look at Fidel Castro. And you could also look at California. California, they've tried most of these things in California. Mom Donnie has tried the government-run grocery stores in New York. They're a hopeless mess. Their cost overruns are ridiculously high. It costs twice as much to do anything there as it would at a normal grocery store. I mean, I'm just shocked at I think you're right when you say that the Gen X was the last ones who had the ability to actually do more than to think about it in a principle or to think on a level of principles rather than superficiality. And it's disappointing to me that we're going to lose this country if we don't wake up.
Blair, I appreciate the call. Thank you.
Hey, have a great day, Kevin. I listen to your show every day. Talk to you later.
Well, I'll talk to you later. We apologize for the signal problems. Jerry and Emmett telling us we had some issues, and I thought it was just on my end. We appreciate that. Let's quickly go to Susan on 580 KIDO. Hello, Susan.
Hi, how are you? I enjoy
I'm
your
good.
show.
Go ahead, please. Well, thank you. Thank you.
I discovered I have two issues. One of which I think Trump. I voted for Trump 3 times, and I'd vote for him again. I know that's not going to happen, but I'm very. I don't like everything that comes out of his mouth, but I'm very pro-Trump. I think he's who we need now. But unfortunately, I think he's being misled in terms of the war in Iran. We have a situation there where 90 million people...
Susan, hang on. Susan, hang on. We're going to take you over to next hour. We're going to talk to you, then we'll talk to Jeff Bacon, and talk to everybody with Kevin Miller. Thank you to Window World Boise for sponsoring this hour of the program. Brought to you by our friends at Beacon Plumbing, at beaconplumbing.com. Much more than plumbing. We'll tell you about them in a minute. Before we get to Jeff Bacon, Jeff, hang on. We're going to go to Susan, who wanted to finish her thought with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. So, Susan, you were talking about the president getting good or bad advice.
I think he's being misled from the point of view of they have 90 million people there who are unarmed. That's our understanding. And they have 50,000 who are in their military armed, and the higher echelon, I don't know how many there are of that, 50 people that are running their show. And so that should tell us a story here. We need the nice guys with guns here in America, and maybe other places too that are like us or similar. But here's the story. I really think he's being misled because the 90 million probably are Sunni and the 50,000 are Shiite. They're very fierce, and they truly believe in their Quran, the parts that talk about only dying for their cause. In other words, they're not going to give up. They are not going to surrender. You will have to kill them in order to take over the country and give the people arms and help and all these other things. So it's kind of a twofold story that I'm talking about here, the fact that they're so fierce and that we need to keep our good guys need to keep their guns. And we just had an example of that in Twin Falls the other day. Unfortunately, some people didn't make it. But it just goes to show you, to me, I'm pro-gun, you see. But the thing in Iran is that I don't think Americans can truly grasp the depth of their ideas, the fundamental Muslims who believe they'll die for their cause. So would we, in terms of protecting someone. It's a little different. Not a little, it's a lot different. They will die. They will not surrender. So I think Trump needs to get an understanding of this, a true understanding of this. Like I say, we don't think that way. We don't think in terms of going that way. If there's a way out,
no.
If we surrender,
right? No, we have a higher. We value life, and they don't. Yes,
yes we do. Yeah, there. Thank you. You're helping me. But this is. I think he doesn't. I don't think he can even conceive of it the way he needs to. These people are different in their thinking. And I'm disassociating them from. I'm putting there's two groups basically, the Sunnis and the Shiites. So
right, yeah, no, I agree, Susan. Thank you for the call and thank you for the nice comments. We go to our great friend Jeff Bacon, who joins us now. Jeff, thank you for your service as a Navy veteran. We appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Always love talking with you.
Well, still not getting on a carrier, bro.
I can't convince you, huh? Well, we'll keep working on that. I just need one yes. I give you a whole series of no's. I just need one yes. That's all I need.
Yeah. No, I having gone to Iraq a couple of times, I'm good. Those the days of being, let's go. I don't think so anymore, but I appreciate the offer. But it does underscore what the extraordinary happens every day with our military, particularly those serving right now in the war against Iran. What are you hearing? What do you think is going on there, sir, on the ships?
Well, I think this has been going on for a long time. I was just looking at the which carriers are out there right now. It's the same ones that we talked about before. The Lincoln and the George H.W. Bush are both out there in the Middle East. They've been there now for a couple of months, and if you remember that the Gerald Ford was out there for 11 months. Well, the routine, when you first get out there, your adrenaline's flowing, it's exciting, you've got combat operations going on. After a while, that starts to become routine itself, and that's where the danger always comes in. And the challenge for a commanding officer or for the admirals out there is to make sure that the crew stays sharp and continues to keep focused on what they're actually doing, because it's a dangerous world out there, and that is what I think the ships are at right now. As if I was going to guess, they are in that sort of routine. If you have two carriers out there, which we do, normally what happens is they will rotate between day and night operations. So it's kind of a deconfliction scheme. So they will set up their own routine, and so one of the ships will be operating and flying during the day, and then they stand down in the nighttime, let the crew rest, and then the other carrier will take over those operations. And that is what's going on right now. And they've been out there for a while. They're in the routine. So the challenge now is to stay sharp, because their performance so far has been just about flawless, and they want to maintain that.
Boy, what do you make of the reports we're hearing where they're tired, we're running out of weapons? Your thoughts on that?
Well, as far as tired goes, I think that routine thing, the boredom can set in. That's an issue. When it comes to weapons, I don't have the insight. You hear two different sides of this. You hear somebody leak that we're running low on weapons. I personally, from my experience, don't believe that. I think we've got more than enough weapons, and the president and the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War have come back and refuted that we have any sort of a weapons issue. The challenge is always larger than just the one area of operations. We're focused on the Middle East, but you've got a whole world to deal with. I mean, you've got out in Taiwan, the Taiwanese military has been doing exercises recently where they scramble and plan on a Chinese invasion. So the focus in that part of the world is on that. The Chinese are out there. We have the George Washington is in the area monitoring all of those operations. So if something started to blow up there, we want to make sure that we have the assets to cover that as well. And that's, we've talked about logistics before. That's where I think the Americans are better than anybody else in the world as far as logistics go. There are a lot of very smart people that have planned for all of these contingencies and making sure that we have plenty of assets out there. So I don't think we have, mean, and I may be wrong, but I don't believe we have any sort of a weapon shortage.
And yet we have the media running with that, with the missiles and everything else.
Absolutely, yeah. That'll be a story that'll keep a gift that keeps on giving. I think that question will keep coming up, and it's how do you refute that without giving classified information? We have the president says we have plenty of weapons. Secretary of Defense says we have plenty of weapons. I think everything stemmed from a meeting at Camp David where there was a question that none of us were privy to that the president asked Secretary of War, and the press picked up on that. And you look at the media and they talk about how there was a big conflict between the president and Secretary of War and all that. I don't buy that either. But I mean, the president's got to ask those questions. Do we have the right assets? I want to make sure we have everything we need so that I, as the president, can execute what I need to execute. And I think the press will obviously run with that sort of thing because it sounds like some sort of a conflict.
Our great friend Jeff Bacon joining us here at 580 KIDO. What do you make of the military? I mean, for 50 years you were in that region. Not for 50 years, but the Iranians have been top of mind for us, and how's it going? And your review and commentary on the coverage of it, if you will.
Well, just like anything else, we have a short attention span. Right now we talk about Iran, but I can feel it sort of slipping back into the background. It's still very much an important part of the world, and I've heard and I've read about some agreements that Oman has been brokering with the Iranians for a traffic separation scheme in the Strait of Hormuz. For some perspective, the Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide, and historically the traffic separation scheme, there's a separation between incoming and outgoing traffic, about a mile or two in between the two of them, so they don't have collisions and such. Historically, that has gone pretty much in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. So you're skirting Iranian waters, you're skirting Omani waters. The proposal that the Iranians and the Omanis are brokering has the incoming traffic now going well into Iranian waters, outbound still staying in sort of neutral traffic. The danger is, and what the president is concerned about, is that if it goes well into Iranian waters, now the Iranians have leverage to impose tariffs, to impose taxes, to have some sort of a fee to get into the Gulf, and can control the traffic. So the U.S. proposal has traffic separation scheme moving closer to Oman. And I don't know how that's going to work out, but when you've got two countries that can really are on either side of the strait talking about how they have come up with an agreement, that's something that now the U.S. has to counter and talk about, because the strategic implications of that are huge, and that's something we just can't forget. And then, meanwhile, you've got the Saudis are fighting the Houthis, on the southwest part of the peninsula there in Yemen, and those rebels are threatening traffic going out through the Red Sea into the Gulf of Aden, and so there's a lot of things going on there. And then if you expand a little more, you're talking about Gaza. There's the Board of Peace. I think the Board of Peace that is working on development of Gaza. Well, that is important, but part of that is that Hamas cannot be part of any part of governing of Gaza. Well, that's going to be controversial. So there's that whole area is just really volatile, and I respect everybody that's involved with any kind of negotiations, because it's just very difficult. It's like a 3D chessboard every day.
Jeff Bacon joining us, talking about the war, the Strait of Hormuz, and we'll get back to that in a minute. Now, Jeff, we've got a big event coming up.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, Kevin. September 12th, you mentioned instant gratification. The whole thing is based on a cartoon by a cartoonist named Steve Moore. He had a cartoon called In the Bleachers in the Statesman. It's a nationally syndicated cartoon, and it is a cartoon about a marathon where the start and the finish are the same. Well, Steve Moore was an Idaho resident for many years. Also did Open Season, the animated movie Open Season. And we would camp. And we were sitting around a campfire one night, and we talked about that cartoon and thought, well, wouldn't that be fun if we actually did that? And so a couple years down the road, we're doing it. And the idea is that the proceeds would go to the Wyakin Foundation, which works with wounded and injured veterans, and all the proceeds go to that. So because it was born out of a cartoon, we have 10 syndicated cartoonists coming in. We've got Mad Magazine, The Family Circus, Baby Blues, Pearls Before Swine. We have some animators that one local animator is Jeff Myers, who lives right in Boise. He does Rick and Morty and several other animated series on TV. They're all going to be there. Hotel Transylvania, and they'll draw for the crowd. We have the giant potato, the one we use for the potato drop in New Year's. That's going to help with the countdown. We've got our own Kevin Miller that's going to be the MC for this, walking around asking people how they prepared for this rigorous 0-mile run, and you'll be actually doing the countdown, and you'll be the one that tells everybody to on your mark, get set, go. You're the guy that does that, and then we have a group of singers coming from New Orleans called the Victory Bells. That's from the World War II Museum. They do Andrew Sisters sort of music. So as soon as we start and finish the race at 11 o'clock, they start singing. And then we have food trucks, and the cartoonists will be there, and we have massage tables. Lazy Boy is our event sponsor. Lazy Boy is going to have some Lazy Boy chairs there to relax after your exercise, if you will. And firefighters from around the Treasure Valley will be there, and it'll just be a great event. And the whole idea is to raise money for wounded and injured veterans. We're really excited about it.
Now, the firefighters, what are they going to be doing? I mean, it sounds like you've got everything planned, including my participation.
Yeah, I'll be sending you some scripts pretty soon here. The firefighters are they're going to bring some equipment for the kids to crawl around on, and I'm trying to talk them into working the little water cups you get on a marathon. We'll have a table full of little water cups. I'm trying to get the firefighters to agree to be the guys who run out to the runners and hand out the little cups to them. Haven't got a yes on that one just yet, but working on it. But they'll be there showing off their equipment, and we've got some volunteers from the families of firefighters who will be general volunteers at the event. Oh, and I wanted to say one thing.
We appreciate that. Yeah.
There's one thing that you don't know about. One of the Mad Magazine artists is a guy named Ed Steckley, and a phenomenal artist. He is doing up a poster that's got all the cartoonists, it's got the giant potato, and it's got Kevin Miller. And we'll have one of those in each of the swag bags.
Oh, boy.
So everybody's going to get a swag bag. Idaho Pizza's sponsoring the swag bags. And inside every swag bag will be that poster, so everybody who comes can take those posters and get autographs, get signatures from all of the people there, including Kevin Miller. So you'll be. I'll flip you that.
Hold on.
Copy.
That's a as you know, that's a double-edged sword with some people. But anyway, Jeff Bacon joining us. Jeff, the website, if people want to take part in and really help out the Wyakin Foundation.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. There's two websites. One is igfunrun.com. That's for the race, and the other one is wyakin.org, and that's WYAKIN.org. So you can donate right to Wyakin, the Wyakin Foundation. If you go through the igfunrun.com, you have an option of not just registering, but also giving a donation. Those donations are tax deductible as well, and you'll get an email that comes back that says your donation is tax deductible. So we're kind of the two ways to donate to the Wyakin Foundation.
Jeff Bacon joining us. igfunrun.com. Jeff, let's get back to the Persian Gulf and, Pakistan, Saudi, Turkey signing a defense agreement. You've got Oman and the Iranians. Are they our allies? What's going on here? Yeah,
well, Oman, I think I would consider more neutral. and they've been sort of a broker. They've kind of emerged recently as a sort of a broker between Iran and the other negotiators. But I think one of the powers, you mentioned Saudi Arabia, I think one of the powers that's emerging as sort of a very influential entity is Saudi Arabia. They are brokering separate peace agreements, but at the same time they're hosting the United States. They're also dealing with terrorist attacks from down in the southwest portion of Saudi Arabia, which includes Iraqi terrorists, which I think is ironic because Iraq's nowhere near there. But the Iraqi terrorists are helping the Houthis. So Saudi Arabia, I think, is emerging as a big power. They're also involved with the Board of Peace. So they, I think, are ones that we can I think, work with. We talked about the Kuwaitis the other day, and the Kuwaitis have participated as well. They've got a very, very, very small Kuwaiti force of like 17,000 people, but they're also participating in some strikes against Iran, especially retaliatory. But I think the emerging powers, Saudi Arabia, and then this whole issue with the Strait of Hormuz, Oman has emerged as a very important member there, because if you get Oman and Iran agreeing to how they're going to handle traffic through that 21-mile strait, you've got an issue. So I know we're working very, very much with the Omanis to make sure that the U.S. concerns are represented. The U.S. originally had proposed a traffic separation scheme that is very far away from Iran, outside of their 12-mile territorial limits and in Omani waters. But I don't know how it's going to work out yet, but there's like 3 different schemes right now. But to answer your question, Oman, I think, is, I would consider an ally, but with a small a maybe, and more of a neutral power, kind of a neutral broker between the different factions.
Jeff Bacon joining us. So what does it mean for the sailors and the Marines and gosh knows whoever else is floating around there? We haven't really, and I'm sorry for hitting you with that, but before we get to that, what about life on those bases? Qatar, we have our largest base in the region there.
Right.
We have bases in Jordan and troops in Syria all over the place. What's it like for folks there, and Kuwait, obviously, and Saudi?
It's we've done a good job of taking care of our troops. They've got good facilities. They've got good living quarters. They've got great dining facilities now. The old jokes about military chow don't apply anymore. They've got great food out there. But the same problem. You've got harsh conditions, especially in the summertime. I mean, we talk about 100-degree temperatures in Boise, but there's 120 degrees out there with no humidity at all. And I've talked to guys out in Bahrain on the flight line there, and they're just miserable. It's really miserable conditions. But they take great care in making sure that the troops have everything they need. There's water. There's big machines full of water bottles everywhere you go. Just grab a water bottle and keep sucking down the water. But they've got the same issue. They've got the operational tempo they have to maintain. They have to keep sharp. And once again, every military commander always has to fight against boredom and people relaxing too much, because you want to keep them sharp. We always have the constant threat of attacks coming in. Now especially with the suicide drones and all, and so they've always got to stay sharp. They've always got to keep their eyes on the skies and keep their eyes on the security to make sure that no bad guys are sneaking into the base. So it's still a dangerous world, but again, you start getting used to it after a while, and that's where the complacency can become a real problem.
Our great friend Jeff Bacon joining us, and Jeff, I asked this just as with all due respect, were you guys ever afraid out there? I mean, of a missile or anything?
I'll tell you one story. We're going through the Gulf, going through the Strait of Hormuz. I was on a ship, a frigate called the USS Cook, and we had a really antiquated anti-air defense system. And this was when the Iraq-Iran war was going on, and the Iranians flew a C-130 right over the top of us. And if they would have wanted to take us out, they could have done that. I mean, it's it's almost impossible with the old systems they had to be able to defend yourself. And I remember at that point I thought, I'm not real comfortable with this, but nothing happened. We were lucky. Nowadays, with the ships we have out there now, you pick up those aircraft long before they ever get to you, and you've got all kinds of defenses set up with the BPDM systems and such that will take out any sort of a threat. So, but I answer your question is, that was one time that I didn't feel real comfortable. And the other time was, I think I told you about this, when I was in Afghanistan flying in a Black Hawk, and we were flying very, very low, and going over people's backyards. And I asked them, I said, don't you feel just a little bit nervous about that? And they said, well, if you fly too high, then it gives them time to shoot an RPG at you. But if you fly low, they don't have time to react. I thought, okay, I guess that makes sense, theoretically, but still the guy's pretty low. You can wave at the guys as you walk over there or fly over their backyards. So that made me a little bit nervous, but I've great faith in the military. They always took care of us, and I haven't been afraid for a long time. Now, if you want to,
and I don't know if you're
a carrier, that's a different story. And there's a little fear factor there.
Well, thank you for that, Jeff. I really appreciate that, as if I don't have enough cortisol stress in my life. However, I don't know if you're a motorcycle rider, but I equate being in a Black Hawk, what you just described it, probably just full throttle on a motorcycle. There's nothing more exhilarating to me than being in a helicopter, and whether it's, from a lot of our friends in the Hueys and the Black Hawks, and they've come a long way. You remember when they first came out, they called them the Crash Hawks.
Yeah.
But those things, to have the doors open and to go, man, that must have been, well, and again, you and others have done this, the extraordinary, an ordinary day, but zipping in and out, and the skill required of those pilots is just indescribable.
It's unbelievable. I mean, and it's not just the Black Hawk guys. The helicopter pilots in general in the military are phenomenal. I mean, when you're out there in a destroyer and you've got an SH-60 coming in to land and you're in rough seas, it's a huge challenge. I mean, your deck is moving quite a bit, and they've got to time their landing so that they can land flush to the deck and not hit it at an angle. I mean, they're amazing pilots. I mean, our military, you've seen it, I've seen it, especially now as I've gotten older, and I see these 20-somethings, 30-somethings out there, and I think there's no way I could even do what they're doing. And it's so inspirational to see how they have trained themselves, how they've prepared themselves, and how they operate. I mean, we have the best military in the world, bar none. I'm so proud of them all.
Jeff Bacon, igfunrun.com. We look forward to it. It's going to be, you're at the highfalutin place, right? I love that place.
Yeah, we're a Paya Brewing Company just north. There's a parking lot right there where it's all going to take place, and it will be just a great time. It's family friendly, and if for anybody who hasn't raced before, this is a really no threat way to kind of learn what it's all about. You register just like a regular race. You get a bib number just like a regular race, and you get the exhilaration of Kevin Miller getting everybody all fired up, and then launching them across the finish line, and then you have this big thing waiting for you, this big reception waiting for you at the end. It'll be a great time for everybody involved, and I hope everybody can be there. igfunrun.com. All the money goes to a good cause, and hope you can join us.
Well, and Wyatt Foundation. I mean, you've been involved in that group for years, and that all began here. And I can remember when a young Jeff Bacon and a pudgier, younger Kevin Miller, we would talk about this. And Jeff, not to get too mushy, but you always saw value in what we do, and we want to appreciate you for that. So thank you.
Well, I'm just one of your fans. You have carried the mantle for years and years. Always been very consistent, very pro-military, pro-nation. I admire you, and you know that. I think we all have the same feeling for these troops. I mean, I'll tell you one really quick story. I was talking with one of our early Waiakan warriors, and I won't give his name, but he, when he was struggling, when he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do in life, he actually was suicidal, and he's talked about this on stage, so I don't have a problem talking about it, but he was suicidal and actually had a gun in his mouth. And with his wife called 911, he went into some hospitals for a while, and then we picked him up and helped him get through school. And I just talked with him just 2 days ago, and he graduated from Boise State. He says that Waiakan saved his life, and now he's got 5 factories reporting to him directly and 3 indirectly. He's got international management for the heavy-duty aftermarket industry with SAF Holland, and that's what Waiakan does. We focus on the career. Our goal is for these men and women who've served to get through whatever training they need to get through, but the ultimate goal is to get a career where they can take care of their families and they can give back to their communities. And he is sort of a good example. I can give you 20 examples of what these men and women have done, and all we do is just help them overcome the obstacles as they're starting that journey post-military into becoming viable and contributing community members. And you've been a great advocate of that. I personally appreciate it, and it's my life's mission. I was asked one time at the War College, I was giving a presentation at the Navy War College, and they asked me, "Hey, what's your next step with cartoons?" And I said, "What's more important to me is what's the next step with these veterans." I mean, that's when you're on your deathbed and you say, "What have I done?" Well, I could say, "Well, I drew goofy cartoons," but what I really want to say is help men and women get to the next step and help the next generation move on. And that's what everybody who's volunteered and everybody who's worked with Waiakan feels the same way. So I'm not unique in any capacity. Our board of directors that we have is phenomenal and completely dedicated.
As are you, Jeff Bacon. We appreciate you. igfunrun.com, and we'll get you back and look forward to the event very soon, sir.
I'm really looking forward to it, Kevin, and I'll even got a T-shirt for you, so you'll be all set.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Nice
Take care,
to you,
Jeff.
Kevin. You too. Bye-bye.
Nice talking to you. Bye-bye. igfunrun.com. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. 580-KIDO. I was just listening to what Jeff Bacon was talking about, and you have people, and we've done this for years, but the war really brings it home, where we have people that are in submarines, we have people that are at the DMZ, we have people that are everywhere doing all sorts of incredibly brave things day in and day out. And we have people that are under fire. Some of it doesn't get reported. Some of it does. And we can never thank our veterans enough. We never do, but we try. And then we have, the brilliance of people in the military. And we contrast that with the socialists trying to take over. It's wild. And then I'm looking at, I don't know if this is a paid thing, but the prediction markets have really taken over when Kalshi or whatever it is now on CNN as a ticker, where we're talking about the odds, 15% chance of the cap on gambling loss reduction will be repealed by the end of the year, which is just crazy. And I know our man Clay Travis loves the predictive markets, but you think about this. Now we're doing the chance of Grand Theft Auto is the game of the year. Folks, you could lose your mind in doing this stuff. And again, if you can do it responsibly. But as we've seen with sports being taken over by FanDuel and DraftKings and the gambling, and I always like the idea, look, you can go to Pendleton and gamble. That's not that far of a trip. And I've often wondered, and maybe you can't do it because they have certain restrictions and it can only be on native land, if you will. I guess that's where all the casinos are. But you take a look at, well, I guess there's no native land in Ontario, but you talk about, and I know the Mountain Home folks have, been struggling with a casino back and forth, but you take a look at that and you think to yourself, kind of crazy when you think about it. How everything has become a predictive market. You have people actually getting in trouble for making money off of this. Now for something totally unrelated, and this is a bias that I have. A lot of people, you may or may not know a lot about me, but I'm one of the few people that have graduated from this college in Ohio. My parents went there. My grandparents went there. It's called the University of Akron. And I know that I have to talk about this because yesterday on Channel 7, the three talented but truly not get blessed with the knowledge of football young people were doing this. So, like Boise State, but Boise State is one of the better football teams in the country. My college football team is one of the worst. Well, that goes to show you, buddy. Yes, it does go to show me, buddy. So a lot of people have masculine names for their teams, like the Broncos or the Vandals. My team, they're called the Zips. They actually were called the Zippers back in the day. They're not a new team, like everything in the Midwest. They're an old team. But they've had their challenges, and they've had their challenges with attendance and everything else. And so they created a gimmick. And we write about gimmicks or not gimmicks, marketing opportunities at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Boise State becoming a concert promoter. What's next? Maybe, that's a good one. I'll save that. But you take a look at what Boise State has had to do in the big money world of college football. Well, the University of Akron, or as we like to call it, Akron U, that I graduated from many, many years ago, where I got my teaching degree, they came up with this gimmick that you could, if you bought a season ticket package, I don't think you bid on it. They're going to pick one. You're going to get to call the offensive plays with Joe Moorhead. And actually, we need to get Tom Wistersill on here, the former AD, as well as Jeremiah Dickey. Anyway, the reason why I'm talking about this is it is transcended not just from sports, but everywhere else where everybody's talking about it. And I was watching the kids on Channel 7 trying to figure out what an offensive coordinator is, what this is, what that is. But Pat McAfee picked it up because Joe Moorhead, and he go way back. Joe Moorhead was the offensive coordinator at Oregon, was at Penn State, was very successful, went to Mississippi State and flamed out. However, at 580 KIDO, it shows you how these programs have to become more and more creative. Now, again, Akron, Ohio is 2,500 miles, something like that, away from Boise, Idaho. When Channel 7 is talking about it on its Kibble segment, it has truly jumped the shark. But again, we always give our props. And like I said, I do wear my zip gear occasionally. Now, to me, as a man, I don't really, hey, I'm a zip. Yeah, I know. It's very emasculating. And then they turn and the mascot is a kangaroo. It's a kangaroo. And then they turned the guy kangaroo Zippy. I know. There is nothing masculine about a kangaroo named Zippy. And then they turn him into a woman. There she goes. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were telling me about Chat GPT. Well, she said this. I go, well, wait a minute. How can your Chat GPT be a woman or a female? It was just funny how we were going back and forth on that. So, again, just a very different vibe, if you will, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, when you're trying to become the offensive coordinator, which is every person's dream. I don't know if there's a lot of people that really want to be the defensive coordinators, but if they are, they're gifted. However, like I said, when they're trying to break that down on Channel 7, I just got a laugh out of it. I didn't think that it was a story that we would cover here on the Kevin Miller program, but again, a little vibe into my origin, if you will. Like a lot of people, I worked my way through college, working at a mall. One of the better jobs I've ever had, cleaning floors and toilets and all sorts of wonderful things at the mall. You remember that Democratic Socialist Francisco Hong, who in fact was talking about Thanksgiving. Well, Scott Walker has shared an opinion. We're going to share that with you now. A Democratic Socialist state representative, Francisco Hong, could not win in Wisconsin just a few years ago. She would be considered too radical for the ultimate swing state. That, however, could change this year. By the way, remember, Scott Walker was the charismatic congressman who ran for president. He was the 45th governor of Wisconsin, ran for the presidency in 2016, and does now live in Milwaukee, which is pretty cool. But breaking this down, because this is, and again, we were one of the first people to play the Hong comments where she could not confirm nor deny whether or not she would decide to get rid of Thanksgiving. Now, remember, she's often said she wants to defund and abolish the police. Let's see. She's on video saying police officers enforce the law with state-sanctioned violence. Hong goes on to say she would dismantle police unions and defund the police. Now, again, when there's an officer-involved shooting, people are innocent, there's a process involved, and she called it an execution. Very irresponsible. We can no longer have a system that protects a power and privilege that puts the pain and lives of armed officers over black people. We cannot protect a system that continues to rain harm and terror. And again, we're talking about Hong, who wants to get rid of holidays. Cancel Thanksgiving. Should have done this in 1621. Now remember, I have told you for years, 5 years, 10 years, something of that nature, that they're coming for Thanksgiving. And now they have shown their true colors. Here's what they say about Thanksgiving. If it takes a worldwide pandemic for us to realize we should stop celebrating colonialism and the original super spreader event that killed indigenous folks and women, so be it. So I guess the men that were killed don't matter. This is crazy. Now, she's not actually done with holidays. She previously complained about Christmas, saying, she wanted to change the background on her computer and get rid of the snow and the Christmas trees. Just crazy. And again, she doesn't like fireworks. And these are people that are gaining ground. Now, why are they gaining ground, true believer? They're gaining ground because they feel alienated, isolated, not being heard. They believe that people should live up to their promises. And through social media and through other avenues, they're being heard. They don't have to go through the gatekeepers that others have to go through. They don't have to do this. They just roll on. And these influencers are winning. Now, they don't have a plan. Look at poor Mondami. He's $3 billion, $4 billion in the hole, and people are booing him, thankfully, because he can't live up to his promises. But these people are angry. We're seeing the reverse Trump, if you will. And it's funny, I was watching one of the shows last night, and they were going back and forth on, President Trump, and part of the issue could be, in fact, that these socialists are being elected because of the Trump populism. And I'll explain that coming up next. Kevin Miller, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Beacon Plumbing, where they say, stop freaking, call Beacon today. And when you think of Beacon Plumbing, maybe you're thinking of plumbing. And I was telling you that we were having, some issues here at the remote broadcast center, otherwise known as my home. And we asked Beacon Plumbing to come out. And they were very, very thorough. But we also wanted them to look at our air conditioner because, they do HVAC, electrical, and all sorts of wonderful things, and including plumbing, right? Because we're a plumber show. We love being associated with the plumbers. Hard-working people, whether it's our friend Patriot Ray, Glenn and Nampa, the plumbers, Ray Jr., we have the plumbing covered. So we had them look at our air conditioner, and you wouldn't believe how bad it was. It needed to be cleaned, fumigated, dusted, and taken away. So they came out here and they were incredibly professional, wonderful to deal with, and hopefully, thanks to their good work, their proactive work, which I urge you to do, our air conditioner is going to be good for the upcoming season. By the way, beaconplumbing.com, whether it's HVAC, whether it's electrical, whether it's gas. And then you're going to love this one. We had I was going to say our friend, but my dad coming in, he goes, that toilet is leaking. I go, what do you know, old man? Well, sadly, and this is what happens. I can remember when we had our heating system replaced, we found when they took out the old heater, there was a bunch of trash left behind by the builders. Now, there are good builders and bad builders, and there are irresponsible builders. So this house is, I guess, 20 years old, and they didn't install the toilet correctly. So we had an issue there, and they said, look, you've got some, mold, you've got this, and nobody likes to hear this stuff, but they were very nice with Mrs. Miller as I was out gallivanting around. And so they called in one of their partners that they're associated with, came out. They've got the mold people taking care of that. They're going to put in the toilet the right way. And none of this would have happened without someone that I trust, and that's Beacon Home Services. And that's a real-life example of what happened yesterday. Call them right now, whether you need help or not. They're licensed and insured, a very friendly local team. 551-5717. That's 551-5717. Beacon Plumbing, Beacon Home Services. As we say, quit freaking, call Beacon today. And like I said, I couldn't believe what my HVAC looked like, the air conditioning unit, and, whether you get that done once or whatever, that thing doesn't run correctly or the filters are clogged. Well, what happens next? Your energy bills are going to go up, and gosh knows what you're breathing. So, again, big ups to Beacon Plumbing, Beacon Home Services. And, again, we've got the blower going in the bathroom, and, it's unfortunate that you have some people, and maybe the builders were nice builders, but you think when you pay for a home that the toilet would be installed correctly, and it's 20 years of damage that they uncovered. So thank you, Beacon Plumbing. And, that's a tough thing. No one wants to hear that. But again, you're going to hear it from the right people. 580 KIDO traffic. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio, traffic looking good east and westbound on the freeway. Nothing really to slow you down there. Nampa Caldwell Boulevard, Eagle Road, Chinden Linder Park, all looking good. If your website isn't showing up when customers use AI to search online, you're missing out. Find out how AI search optimization can help your business be found. Email lucas.babin@townsquaremedia.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave Burnett, Kevin Mill in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, our Boise State reporter, you can read his work right now on our website. Alex Simone will join us, Boise State graduate. He's going to break down the Broncos season. He's a young man, so we'll have a little patience with him. Good dude. And if you've seen me out and about, whether it's the Balloon Classic, the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic, whether it's the Boise Music Festival, Alec is usually the guy with me. And you could tell it's Alec because he has the long hair, if you will. So Alec will join us to appreciate he joining our staff. We've been lobbying to get him on. So, like I said, we have our own reporter now covering Boise State, and, that's always very important. And again, that's more like a candle than the cake. And you're going to go, Kevin Miller, you're talking about the University of Akron, the Akron Zips, Boise State. This is a political show talking about what matters. I'm with you. Coming up, a court order creates a men's prison within a women's prison. Huh? You don't want to miss that one. Kevin Miller. 580 KIDO. Good morning. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Hearing Connection. Check them out today, a proud sponsor of the program for many, many years. Thank you very much, Hearing Connection. We move on to Boise State Athletics. Our reporter, Alex Simone, joining us. Or as they called him on campus, Slim. He's a budding documentary filmmaker, and he likes hanging out with me, which always amazes me about the young people. Alec, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you doing?
We're fine. So here you are, your debut on the Kevin Miller program. You've been out with me on many occasions, and now you're reporting from the field.
Yes, sir. It's been a long time coming, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, the only thing missing from this is first time, long time. Anyway, Alec, we're very big fans of yours. So here we have it, a proud Boise State grad, a man who loves the news and the sports. So you're going to be our expert for this coming season. You were at the first news conference, press conference, whatever you people call it, with Coach Danielson. What struck you as people get ready for Boise State football and a big season once again, sir?
Yeah, fall camp just started this week, and, Danielson seemed to be really excited. I'm really excited for the season as well. I think the big thing was a lot of competition amongst a lot of key positions this year, especially in the wide receiver room. Last year, Boise State was second in drops last year in the wide receiver room, and they lost just about all of them. So it's kind of addition by subtraction this year. They're looking to start a bunch of new guys. They got a lot of new transfers in. So there's a lot of competition in the wide receiver room and the defensive back room, so there could be a lot of improvement there. And overall, just a lot of competition all around. A lot of positions seem to be undecided so far. I think on the D-line, Jaden Virgin-Morgan is somebody to watch who's going to be big leading that room. But for the rest of the line, there's still a lot of competition as far as Danielson made it seem in the press conference. Maddox Madsen will be returning for his fifth year, his third year starting. That should be exciting. I think he's going to be in his best form this year, so he'll be a guy to watch. And overall, the team's looking really strong. I think I'm really excited about the defense, actually. We got a transfer from Notre Dame named Jaden Mickey. He should be a strong addition. I think the defense will actually be one of the better ones we've seen under Danielson recently. Overall, I'm pretty excited for the year. I think we'll be better than last year. And the team sounds good, sounds exciting. Fall camp just started, so should be a good season overall this year.
You're kind of more in-depth for a lot of us. So how do they think that they're going to do? Obviously, money has played a lot, and what a lot of people don't know is, Coach Danielson and Coach Rice and Coach Presnell and others, not only do they do their day job and then deal with the kids. I mean, the kids are so young. You're an old man compared to them. Did you ever think that would happen, Alec?
No, I didn't actually, yeah.
Yeah, you've become an old man. Welcome to the old man club. However, they also really try to help raise money and raise funds. So they're going up against a team that has a lot of money, the University of Nike. Did he talk about that at all?
Yeah, they talked a little bit about it. They're more focused on fall camp right now, but they did mention throughout the offseason they'd game planned for their first three matchups, and Oregon's one of them. Danielson didn't get too much into Oregon at this point in the summer in terms of what they're thinking. They're still more focused on, those key positions and where they're trying to fill things out. But he says that they have game planned for Oregon a bit throughout the summer, and throughout the summer they've looked at Oregon, Memphis, and then their third opponent, South Dakota. Those are all currently teams that they've researched and developed. But, yeah, you're right. Oregon is a big money school, and they are by far our toughest opponent this year. We lost to them 2 years ago. It was a great game. I expect it to be another great game this year in Eugene, but they're definitely looking ahead at this point.
Well, and Alex Simone joining us, Kevin Mill in the morning, 580 KIDO, talking a little Boise State football. I always to me, again, the receivers and the tight ends and the linebackers and all those sorts of things. We can kind of get lost in that. But, again, the story has to be the money. And Oregon has, if you're looking at Ohio State, there's, a payroll people are saying of exceeding maybe $50 million. Oregon probably in the 30 to 40 million. They've got a guy that could win the Heisman. I mean, they have a lot of resources. So as the Broncos open up the fall camp, how does the coach motivate people? Did he talk about the state of the team and what he expects this year? And, was last year a disappointment?
Did not talk about last year being a disappointment. I think Danielson is one of the easiest guys to be motivated for as a player overall. I mean, he was definitely a player's coach. He's an exciting guy. You're definitely right about the money. Oregon is a very money-heavy school with Nike. You're right. Notre Dame is one of those more expensive schools. LSU's roster is also at about $40 million. They're extremely expensive. Boise State is able to compete, though. I think Danielson does an incredibly good job of recruiting and maintaining his players. I think he's an easy guy for players to follow. And he makes a real big point of he wants the right guys at Boise State, not just the best guys. And he thinks the best guys are going to be the right guys, people who are the right fit for the program. So that's his big focus is recruiting good and correct guys for the program and maintaining them. Oregon, and yeah, their quarterback Dante Moore is they're a total powerhouse, and they're favored to be a top 3 team this year in the nation. I think this year could be their year for the championship, but Boise State has a legitimate chance to knock them off. I think this year. Will it happen? I don't know. There's a lot unproven about Boise State's current team. There's a lot of players with experience, but as Danielson said in the press conference, a lot of players with experience, but not experience playing for Boise State or playing together as a unit. So it's going to be an exciting week one and an exciting season. I think we could see a really good version of the Broncos on the field this year.
Alex Simone proving his objectivity as a Boise State grad. Did they talk about the improvement of the facilities on 580 KIDO?
They did, yeah. We talked about the North End Zone project a bit. It's mostly complete, and it's looking good. He says it's been a great addition in terms of recruiting and bringing people over. Everybody's excited about it. Not too much time was spent on it, but yeah, overall the facilities are great. I got to witness it myself firsthand. It looks really good. I was impressed. It's a really good vibe in there, and I think they're all happy with it. It was a bit expensive, I would say, to be completely fair. A bit of an expensive project, but, it's looking good. It looks like it has paid off well.
Sure. Well, it's all about the return on investment, and they can charge for that. And, the team will be coming out in a new way, if you will. As someone who, Alec, you've been around, a local guy, you love Idaho, you love Boise State. What does it mean economically? And, again, this is where I'm going to draw on your experience as a Boise State grad. Economically, Jeremiah Dickey astutely 3 or 4 years ago identified the front porch of Idaho. Even though Boise State has been that for years and years, you could go back to Coach Hawk, really, when they were, ESPN and CNN, Sports Illustrated picked them up, and the Zen-like coach, if you will. But they are the front porch of Idaho, and now we have, we had the Savannah Bananas here, and ESPN focusing on our area. That's the first time I think that the Blue has been featured that hasn't been involved in football. So you got Memphis coming in, you've got all these other games coming in, but obviously downtown is a buzz. People are spending money. Can you speak to the economic engine of the upcoming season?
I can a bit, yeah, actually. It's an interesting point. As a student, I remember being really upset. The overall renovation project, not just including the North End Zone, but for the entire stadium, was estimated to be about $300 million a few years ago. And that's quite expensive, and that's kind of, unheard of as far as spending money on anything in Boise goes, And, when you're a student, you're thinking about, dude, I still have to pay for parking, what's this all about? But on the flip side of it, a few years ago, we had Post Malone come here. I couldn't imagine that happening in a year like, 2018. And what a lot of people don't realize is how much money football actually makes for Boise State University. A lot of people don't realize that there's actually, generally speaking, across most universities in the country, only 2 sports are actually profitable, and that's college football and college basketball. So the more money that a football team is able to bring in, from just football. It actually funds other sports like volleyball, cricket, tennis, all that good stuff. So football is the sport to invest in. And as far as, an investment goes, they invest a certain amount of money into football. Football makes a bunch of money. And I think typically they don't see all of that money and all that profit go directly back into the program. It's kind of diversified throughout the university. So I think economically it's a good thing. I think it's one of our better cultural points that we have here in Boise. And I think it's overall a plus.
Alex Simone joining us. You can read his work at KIDOtalkradio.com. So a preview of your article, you break down a few things. And I love when, because you're a sports guy, that I can say, well, Memphis is coming in with a new coach. But Memphis is pretty big team to play. They'll be here on the Blue. But based on, again, your research and you covering the team for the upcoming season for us, what do you expect? Give us a preview of the article. Give us a tease so people will read the article, sir.
Yes, sir. Overall, I'm expecting a big W there. Memphis, they beat us a couple years ago. That was one of the first games we saw Maddox Madsen actually play a lot down in Memphis. This year they come back to us. First game on the Blue. That's going to be week 2. It's going to be an exciting game. They're kind of in a bit of turmoil right now, though, similar to how we were back a few years ago. They have a new head coach, and not only do they have a new head coach, but they have 71 new players this year. So overall, I actually think it's a pretty locked up win on this one. I actually think the more exciting game and the more controversial game could be is Western Michigan in week 4. They are coming off of a conference championship, and they're returning their top running back and top quarterback, who both rushed for 963 and 1,003 yards respectively. So both those games will be good. Memphis is going to be a great home opener. They went 9-5 last year, so it's going to be a great game either way. I'm expecting a win for that one. And as far as
wait a minute. Of course you are. I mean, objectively, are you expecting a win in Oregon?
I am not expecting a win in Oregon. Objectively, not expecting a win in Oregon. I think it'll be a good game. I think we'll actually put up a good fight. I think it'll be a better fight than Notre Dame a year ago. But Oregon is just a powerhouse, and I think this is their year and this is their time. Honestly, I think they're rightfully one of the favorites to be the college football playoff national championships this year. I think it would be the most historic win as far as David and Goliath wins go for Boise State this year to beat Oregon. But they're just such a powerhouse. They're returning so many starters. Dan Lanning is such a great coach. Dante Moore is such a great quarterback. He's top 5 in Heisman votes.
But Dan Lanning hasn't really won anything. Dan Lanning's been born on third base, and hold on, and not to whatever, but I mean he's under a lot of pressure because he hasn't won. He's had the deluxe Cadillac, and he hasn't won. Not to get too much in the weeds. Sorry, Alec, that's me being an old codger with you at 580 KIDO.
I'm thinking some Alabama fandom shit here.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll get to that. However, Alec, let me just redirect the conversation because we're getting lost in the weeds. Anyway, the new conference, what does that mean? And please finish your thought on Oregon with all due respect. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we were getting lost in the Ducks. But Oregon, Boise State, David and Goliath, we understand that one. University of Nike. And finally, the new conference, they just had a settlement. The Mountain West thought they would get up to $155 million. Looks like it's going to be under $70 million. So with that out of the way, we have this new conference, and we have Alec's thoughts on Oregon.
Yeah, as far as to finish up on Oregon, overall they're just a very solid team, and I think they're favored to win that game, rightfully so. As far as the Pac-12 goes and the Mountain West settlement, I think a lot of us wanted to see a guaranteed bid for the Pac-12 as far as the college football playoff goes, and that's just not going to happen. I don't think the conference is strong enough. And I think it's a good conference overall. I think it's still missing some really powerful schools. I think there's some ideal schools that we would have liked to see, like maybe a New Mexico or even UNLV in the Pac-12. I think it's a better place than we were in the Mountain West. And I think the TV deals with the CW and USA, they prioritized viewership over the money this time around. So those are very viewable and very accessible channels. So I think every game that Boise State plays should be viewable on some sort of basic cable or broadcast television. So I think that's a good thing. It's going to bring a lot of eyes to the entire Pac-12, not just Boise State. Oregon is going to be the biggest game amongst any Pac-12 versus non-conference game. It's going to be the biggest game that any team plays this year. So that's going to be great. Overall, I think it was a good deal. And I think we're just going to have to see how it goes in the future. I think there's a lot undecided. Basketball also plays a huge part in it. Gonzaga is part of the conference, but they're not a football competing school. So I think overall it's a good deal, and I think it's an exciting time to be a Bronco fan.
Yes, spoken like a very objective Boise State graduate. Alex Simone joining us. You can read his work at KIDOtalkradio.com. And, we appreciate you. We thank you for your work, and we look forward to you rolling on throughout the entire season, Alec. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, there we have it. Alex Simone joining us. Kevin Mill in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And, that's really what it's about. Here we have Alec, who graduated Boise State. And as much as I would try to be able to roll with him on that, the guy goes to the news conferences. He does all sorts of things. So thank you, Alec, for that. Always appreciate our leveling up the coverage with our own internal folks. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It's not looking good for Meta. Apparently, they've been hit with another huge fine, another lawsuit, and, targeting kids and all sorts of things, which is wild when you think about it. I'm sitting here talking to you about these things, and I know it's tough to segue from Boise State to what we usually talk about, but we will do that anyway. One thing that you may not know, and there was a big settlement, and unfortunately, what this comes down to is, and I don't know if there's going to be any type of congressman or senator that has enough guts to take this on. I mean, but these are public universities that get a lot of state funding, and now they're making a ton of money doing all these other things. So that is a point of contention, if you will, right? A point of contention when we're looking at all this money that is being generated and needs to be generated. Like I said, I want to thank Alec for that, because we've got, Oregon with all the money. Who would ever think that Eugene would be a bigger deal than Boise just because of the University of Nike? Okay, I promised this. Let's get back to this. A court order creates a men's prison within a women's federal prison. What? Male inmates claiming to be female. Hold on. Things that make you go, Male inmates claiming to be females are seeking full integration with women. Holy bosom buddies. And if you know that reference, you're a better person than 95% of the population. That television show, Bosom Buddies, not bunnies, buddies. Anyway, these men claiming to be women, they want to go with the women. And instead of saying, you're a dude, no, we're going to court. That's right, leading to conflicting court orders regarding their housing in federal prisons. As if we don't have enough to worry about. You're going to love this one. The Department of Justice has created a sex-segregated wing in a women's prison to house the men that claim to be women. Now, the plan is to transfer the all-male inmates claiming to be the women to one female-only prison in Texas. Hey, ladies. Despite efforts by the Trump administration to stop this practice, men are now allowed to serve time in female prisons simply by claiming to be female. I'm every woman. Court battles continue over the segregation of these inmates, with some seeking full integration with women, while others maintaining and advocating for sex-segregated facilities. Wow. That's what we like to call the big whopper. The really, really big whopper. And speaking of the big whopper, last night on CNN, my goodness gracious, this was crazy. They went Looney Tunes over Fauci, and here's a star that's rising. And I don't know if she would make more money as a pundit or being a host, but this Caroline Sunshine, that's her name. Hello, Sunshine. The camera and the content really like her on the Thunderdome show on CNN.
Forget about prosecuting him. The guy should be in a mental institution. He's a textbook sociopath. I mean, DSM-5 level sociopath who was running our pandemic response. Low empathy, ability to inflict pain on innocents, narcissism. I mean, let me read diary entries for you.
Who are you
verbatim.
talking about?
At the height of the pandemic. Hold on, guys. At the height of the pandemic.
Hold on, Caroline.
This is March 2020.
Caroline, let me just ask you.
He's writing in his diary.
Hold on. What are you talking about? Are you suggesting that he should be in a mental institution for having an ego, which I'm close to that. Which I think would characterize just about every single person in Washington.
At the height of the pandemic, when Americans aren't allowed to see grandma dying of COVID, what is Anthony Fauci writing about? The media is so hot.
Respectfully, they're
What a great intellectual argument from a millennial. Bigger, quicker, stronger, faster. This young lady, a DSM-5 level sociopath, low empathy, ability to inflict pain on innocents, and narcissism. And those aren't just flame-throwing statements. She spells it out. She goes deep. Ouchie Fauci. Say it with me, everybody. Ouchie Fauci.
Worked with Dr. Fauci. I worked at the White House.
Written about me.
Caroline, I worked at the White House during COVID. I was Trump's deputy press secretary during COVID. So I actually worked with people like Dr. Fauci.
He was. You couldn't keep him off TV. You're in the press office. You would know his face.
And guess what, Caroline? Guess what? Of course, I will acknowledge, was it very frustrating working in the White House press office and him being on a magazine cover or doing an interview on TV where he's talking ill about the White House and its COVID response? Yes, that was annoying. But the thing is that them trying to scapegoat him and say that it's all his fault, we were dealing with a novel virus. This was once in a lifetime generational pandemic. And so we were all figuring it out as we were going.
He was busy reading his own press clips.
This lady is incredible. And I find very little weakness in her game.
Donuts. They make donuts about
Okay, and you don't think that Donald Trump and all the other senators on the Hill are just as narcissistic? I mean, come on, those guys would slit someone's throat to go on Fox News.
Drinking his own Kool-Aid.
Oh, and you all
but you know who was pouring the Kool-Aid.
You all in the media were in love with him, with Ouchie Fauci. She's right. She's right. All right, let's go to Double D.
Paid for by Living Waters Wellness Center.
That would be David DeHaas. Good morning.
This call will be recorded. Hey, good morning, Kevin. The downstream effects of pain meds and pain patches. Well, Bob had an injury. The doc gave him pain meds. Worked great until he experienced the downstream effects. Pain med worked by shutting off the pain receptors in your gut. A week later, Bob had pain not from the injury, but not from being able to poop. The hospital did a CT scan and confirmed he was full of it. Told him to get a colonic at Living Waters. He called with skepticism, had no idea what a colonic was. I pointed him out to our 12-minute video on our website on how a colonic is done. 30 minutes after watching the video, he is in our office eager to give it a go. An hour later, he came off the colonic bed saying he felt lighter and refreshed. Lighter and refreshed is a common comment from first-time colonic clients. When was the last time you felt light and refreshed? Check out the Waters at livingwaterscleanse.com or call 208-378-9911. The first consult is free. And Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on 580 KIDO on the Whole Body Detox Show, we have our guest learn how to heal her Lyme disease. She had to address the emotional, mental, and spiritual as well. A fascinating story of discovery and healing. Nothing here is meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. Seek out a qualified healthcare professional to see if cleansing is right for you.
David DeHaas delivers. Thank you, sir.
I'm getting ready for that balloon ride. I'm getting mentally prepped, Kevin. Don't forget that balloon ride.
Keep on me about that. Yes, and make sure you give a shout-out to our boy Ranch as well. But I will send that email now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ranch is on my list, first thing.
Paid for by Living Waters Wellness Center.
All right. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO, who continues to hit it out of the park. Big Sean. Remember, yesterday we were playing a bunch of clips of Sean going toe-to-toe with the liberal loons. Speaking of liberal loons, we talk about the Treasure Valley. We talk about the city of Boise. And then we talk about Seattle. And our friends at Turning Point USA have broken down what's really going on in the Seattle Public Library. It's filled with drug addicts. Now, this library is a big library. It's worth $165 million. And you're going to go, Kevin Miller, what do I care about crazy, wacky, zany Seattle? There is a reason why these folks are moving here, and that's the issue. So, we again, Idaho, as perfect or imperfect as we may be, Idaho is like the fortress of sanity compared to the rest of the Northwest. You could throw in Pacific Northwest, Mountain West, any West. We're sane compared to everyone else. And the poor federal prisons. Remember, it was Governor Little who was doing his very best to make sure that the state wasn't paying for transitional surgeries. That was Governor Little that was the first in the nation to stop those things. But we're going to share this story from Turning Point USA coming up. This is just wild when we're thinking about this. And again, it shows you why we are exceptional. Let's go to Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Idaho, with Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO. Hello, Mark.
Good morning, Kevin. I know you're about ready to go to a hard break here, so I'm not going to have enough time in a minute to 2 minutes to say what I needed to say.
Do you want to hang on? All right.
Yes,
More coming up with Mark. Fair enough. Kevin Miller in the morning. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Team Moz. We'll tell you about them in a minute. Let's get you to work safely and on time at Watchdog, who has a big story for us on 580 KIDO. Hello, Mark.
Well, I don't know about a big story, but I do want to say, first off, and then I'm going to touch on the 1954 Communism Act. Apparently, I saw this on a Fox News app on my phone, but there's a gentleman who has an extensive military background as a commander in the infantry, and had mentioned that apparently their conventional, known as the Artesh, which is their Islamic Republic of Iran army, it works alongside the ideological-driven Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. But there seems to be movement of their T-72 Soviet-made tanks. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but they're repositioning these things, so there seems to be something going on as if they're normally, the Artesh are normally primarily used for territorial defense, border protection, and conventional ground, air, and naval warfare support. So it's kind of interesting that is going on. Now, remember just the other day here at KIDO, I mentioned to you about the fact that there was some very interesting things going on with GPS jamming over there. And I just saw another interesting story on Fox this morning, phone app, was the fact that apparently there was a Arizona Air Ambulance plane that had crashed right about the time when down at White Sands Proving Ground in New Mexico, the military was doing GPS jamming, what do you call it? Their traditional exercises, and it caused this plane to crash. And apparently when they do that, it can extend up to 300-mile radius from where White Sands is. Now, if this is going on over there, this ties in with a story that I had reported to you here at KIDO, was the fact that the Iranians apparently seem to be doing this over there, and it's making ships that look like they're supposed to be, well, they are in the Strait of Hormuz, but they're in the middle of the Iranian desert, let me put it that way. So very interesting things going on over there. And I think, Al, you should be very, very happy, because it looks like the U.S. Army is finally going to deploy their Dark Eagle hypersonic missiles. So Al should be very excited, jumping up and down, rubbing his hands together. I'm not trying to knock you, Al. I love what you have to say when you get on KIDO here, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. I don't know if Al's mentioned that recently or not. And then I want to get to.
Well, I don't know. Al just sits there and yells at us. So half the time you're going, okay, Al, okay, Al, okay, Al.
I guess we're all stupid. No, I'm not going to say that. I know what Al's trying to say out there, because you know what? There are too many people who don't really pay attention. They have tunnel vision of the world around them. I think Al tries to point us out that we are not looking, if you don't remember or learn from the past, you're doomed to repeat it, as the old saying goes. And I know why he points out a lot of great philosophers, writers, people who have written things that made civilization great. And you look at today, how do we lose all that? Now, I want to mention what I saw. This was on Newsmax. Savage Newsmax, deport Madami under the 1954 Communism Law. Now, this was the Communist Control Act of 1954, and the law is still in the books from the Eisenhower era, when the country was riddled with communists. And what he says is people like Madami, who is not an American citizen, wasn't born here, should be taken and deported back to his country. The same thing goes with Ilhan Omar, the Somali-born disruptor in our Congress. And I'd like to point out the fact, Kevin, I did send you that article about what Michael Savage has said. How did we ever get to the point in our country where we allowed socialist communists to even run for positions of power? That is not what the founding fathers would have ever allowed. So where were the breakdowns in our political system that allowed this to happen? And if the 1954 communist law was enforced here in this country, we wouldn't be seeing people like Madami or Ilhan Omar or any of their ilk running as socialist Muslims, whatever you want to call them, socialist communist Muslims, because they seem to, it's, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, thinking, and they're in both those camps. And I wonder how far the traditional, well, I should say traditional, the Democrat Party people like that, Charlie Chuck Schumer, how much they would go along with enforcing that 1954 Communist Act, Anti-Communist Act. In other words, put your money where your mouth is up, Chuck Schumer, and the rest of your ilk, who are now afraid of having your party even further taken over by radical socialist communists. This should never be happening in our country, Kevin. So and I'd love to have maybe people like Al. Somebody needs to really explain to me how the system broke down to the point we are allowing people like this to come into our country and or push the radical ideology. This is a great example of how the Mao Zedong style education system in our country has re-educated the stupid out there, from all the way from K through 12, all the way up to our colleges and our universities, such as like the University of Oregon, which you're kind of talking about. Eugene, I've got a niece who lives in Bend, Oregon. You talk about a radical lefty who's attended, anti-Trump things. She's one of them. A mom with 2 kids. I can imagine what her kids are going to end up being like. And, you're the product of the environment in which you grow up in. So I really worry for her kids. But, this is outrageous what has happened. How can this be allowed? I'm reading the other day, Kevin, about Minnesota. You know what's going on over there? They're playing in some of the cities in Minnesota, Kevin. They're using those damn bullhorns for the Muslim prayer. 5 times a day. Now, this is ridiculous. This is not the United States. This is not how our country was designed. This is not how the founding fathers, the great people who fought World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, they didn't fight for this for our country. So how did we get to this point? How was our own intelligentsia community allowing this while they're spitting out through the CIA socialists that are running as Democrats? How did this happen? There's been a great takeover, a great cancer, and that cancer is growing ever so stronger within our country. It is weakening the foundations of our nation, and we see it before our eyes. I'm almost 70, Kevin, and I've seen enough that makes me sick to my stomach of what has happened to my country, my family's country, your country, the KIDO listening audience's country. And people don't want to face the facts of what we're heading towards if you do not do something to stop this insanity and get our people in Congress and the Senate to listen, but they won't. They don't care. We seem to be heading in a spiral down to into the hellhole of the earth.
That's why. Thank you, Mark. God bless. Appreciate the thoughts, and that's why we're here. We're the keepers of the flame, the watchers on the wall, and that's why it's important to be informed and to. You don't have to agree with Mark, the watchdog of Eagle. You don't have to agree with Kevin Miller. You don't have to agree with Tea Party Bob or Patriot Ray or Al in Ontario or Blair or Susan or anybody else. But you do have to have a critical thinking, a critical thought. Our great country, given to us by the Creator, counts on an informed, passionate electorate. Let's go to Ron Grant.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And you talk about informed and passionate when it comes to keeping your money safe. Here he is, Ron Grant. Hello, Ron. Hello, Ron. All right, we've lost Ron. Well, those things happen, and we'll get back to that. That's why it's not a podcast. And although there's nothing wrong with catching us on Google, Schmoogle, Spotify, and, of course, YouTube, if you will, it's live. These things happen. I mean, we never have technical difficulties. Sometimes the phones drop out. How about this one? You want to lower your blood pressure? Yeah, after that segment, Kevin Miller. Anyway, now in Idaho, we pronounce it Kuna. I don't know how they pronounce it in Panama, but you're going to want to hear this one. Should we say the Kuna people? Let's just go with the Idaho pronunciation. The Kuna people in Panama. Now, they've got exceptional cardiovascular health and low rates of metabolic diseases due largely to their daily consumption, allegedly, of this special type of coca. Despite consuming sugar and salt, they have clean arteries, low heart disease, great heart rates, and healthy blood pressure and blood sugar levels. Studies show that the flavonoids in the coca can improve your heart health, lower blood pressure, boost blood flow, and diversify gut microbiome. Drinking the coca can also increase your GLP-1s in the body, aiding in weight loss. How about that? So now all of a sudden, you're going to get inundated with Facebook ads. Drink this coca, the coca schmoka. And this is from the Western Journal. I love this. And, of course, and it's the Kuna people, not the Kuna, Idaho people, but apparently I love this. And apparently, let's see. Let's take a look at this, the research source here. The Western Journal, Defending and Advancing Western Civilization. You can't go wrong with that one. And I love this. The type of caca they drink has also been shown to have up to 63 times the antioxidant levels of broccoli and kale. I love this idea. I mean, let's just do that, and then we can have whatever. I love this. Even more exciting is that the article will show you how a study of these drinkers have nearly doubled the levels of GLP-1 in their body. Oh, come on, bro. Come on. Really? Yeah. If it's too good to be true, well, it usually is. All right. 580-5436-580-KIDO. Let's go to Ron Grant, take 2. Good morning, Ron.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Good morning, Kevin.
All right, here we are. You're passionate and informed about keeping everybody's money safe, Ron. Is that impossible these days?
No, it's not impossible. This is my 30th year helping people, Kevin. It's very possible. You know, we'll go back to 08 and 09 when the market tanked almost 50%. Trillions of dollars were lost to 50 to 70-year-olds. And my clients, we got zeros. And a zero is always better than a loss because we can't lose our principal. We can't lose any gains that we've already earned. But most importantly, I provide a lifetime income that you can't outlive. And if you're married, when one spouse passes, the other spouse gets that guaranteed income for their life. And then when they pass, whatever's left goes to the beneficiaries. It's not brain surgery. You know, we're going to participate in some of the upside of Wall Street, but never the downside. And every year there's a gain, we lock it and go one way, and that's up. And that's important because people worked hard for this money. You know, most of you worked maybe 30, 35 years for your dignity money to take care of yourself and your family. Why risk it in the Wall Street casino? Doesn't make sense.
Well, here's the other thing, Ron, and we all remember what happened with Enron and all those things, man. I mean, the money wasn't safe, and then it all got taken away, and lives were destroyed.
And it happens. Yes, it does. And that's why it's important to have yourself a guaranteed lifetime income out of the risk and the fees of the Wall Street casino. So you have something to count on for you and your family. You know, I coined a phrase over 17 years ago, mailbox money. Go to the mailbox and pick up a check for the rest of your natural life.
I always like that. Go to the mailbox, get the mailbox money, get your money.
That's right. Well, some people shake the tree and it comes out, but we don't have any of those money trees around here. So,
oh, Ron, finally, there's a lot of people promise a lot of things, and I love this. I got a little invitation in the mail, and I go, I got to ask Ron Grant about that. Number one, are you local, and what do you think of the flipper dippers and chicken dinners crowd?
Well, yeah, I'm local. I'm right here in the Treasure Valley. You know, those are what we call plate liquor dinners. People come out, lick the plates. You know, they hear dinner. Financial planners and stockbrokers like to invite those people out. And the thing is, you know, if you want to go out and get some education, that's great. But then they become what they need you to be as a chameleon. They want to get you in the office, go to their home, and see what you have. You know, you can eat 5 nights a week, probably. I get those cards, too. If you're over 50, everyone's going to get those cards. So,
Ron Grant, how can people get a hold of you, my local friend?
Pretty simple. I've got a great educational website that you can go on 24/7. Articles to read, videos to take a look at. SaferMoneySpecialist.com. But let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how to protect your dignity money. And that's 208-660-1372.
Ron Grant, we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, buddy. Have a good weekend.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Okay, more coming up next. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. KIDO, so Fauci looks to be prosecuted. Seattle's hospital library is being taken over by the homeless. And, of course, more of your calls about the issues that matter to you at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And some things we're monitoring. Let's see. We have Lisa Murkowski saying she's not voting for Todd Blanche. Senator Cassidy supporting Mr. Blanche, clearing the path to approval. So it looks like he will be, I believe that will go to the floor. And there you have it. So the president wins again. And here we have an attorney general. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit more about the midterms. And again, how crazy is this that we have this federal prison issue where men are saying they want to be women and then they have to move them into the women's prison, which is strange. And you talk about litigation and, you know, here's a little secret. Those people that are, you know, always litigate. The thing about litigation is it costs money. But if you are an attorney, if you have an attorney, if you're buddies with an attorney, well, then you get a deal. But as Dave Petso has said, as others have said with Kevin Miller, you, in fact, do the attorney thing. I mean, that's just like throwing money away. Anyway, locally, we are following this story concerning a CUNA man arrested for enticement. A CUNA man is facing felony charges of child enticement after allegedly dancing with himself, to quote Billy Idol, inappropriate behavior with teens at the Walmart parking lot. He's identified as a 31-year-old Dylan Myers, reportedly dancing with himself in his car while talking to the girls and asking them to, well, if they wanted to touch it. One of the girls recorded part of the interaction and captured the license plate leading to Myers being arrested. Police confirmed his involvement through a physical description and tattoos seen in the video. Myers has been booked in the Ada County Jail, and additional charges are anticipated in this case. Whether it's the crime-fighting Attorney General Raul Labrador or others warning people to keep your kids safe, please, please, please keep your kids safe. Maybe this is good news that we're actually prosecuting these people, and we're hearing more and more about it to raise awareness to keep your kids safe. Let's get you to work safely and on time at 580-KIDO. We call that 580-KIDO traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studios, traffic now on the freeway looking good. Nothing really to delay as you're coming out of Canyon County into Ada County. Nampa Caldwell Boulevard, Eagle Road, Chin and Linder Park looking good. Up 55, you do have delays today. If your website isn't showing up when customers use AI to search online, you're missing out. Find out how AI search optimization can help your business be found. Email lucas.babin at townsquaremedia.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
All right, let's go to Eric in Cuna, who joins us now at 580-KIDO. Hello, Eric.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I just... Well, I wanted to talk about a couple things, but to answer what Mark was saying on how did this happen with the Islamic infiltration of our country, it happens because of the suicidal empathy of the left. And they come in here. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of Muslims that live here that want to live by American laws. I'm not trying to sound like I'm targeting all Muslims. I've met a lot of good Muslims that love America, that want to follow laws.
Eric, can you hang on for a minute? Sure. All right, Eric. Oh, hang on for a minute. We're going to get you after Jared Halpern. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Good morning. Jared Halpern joins us now from Fox News Radio, live from the White House. Jared, great to have you with us.
Good to be with you.
Well, it's good to be Todd Blanche today, I suppose.
He's going to think through. Yeah, we just heard from Senator Bill Cassidy. He was the kind of final holdout here who signaled he will vote for confirmation. He made clear he has some concerns with Todd Blanche. And it was a pretty emotional speech from Cassidy as he kind of talked about his decision-making, the conversations he had with a lot of different officials, including former Attorney General Bill Barr. But ultimately said that his decision was not about whether or not Todd Blanche was a perfect nominee. He says that he is not, but expressed concern about if Todd Blanche is not confirmed, who then would become the acting attorney general, and would they maybe not be as good as Mr. Blanche, and would they not be able to stand up to President Trump in the way that Cassidy says Blanche will if he is confirmed to a permanent post in the cabinet. So, listen, this was a tough nomination for sure. I think a lot tougher perhaps than the White House had anticipated when they initially decided to go with the acting attorney general with the deputy attorney general, Todd Blanche. At the time, he was viewed as a pretty sensible choice to replace Pam Bondi as the number two. But just think about some of the things that have happened in those interim months, right? Mainly that IRS settlement, the $1.8 billion anti-weaponization compensation fund that has gotten bipartisan backlash. That really tied up this nomination for a number of Republicans. There were other elements of that deal, like the shield from IRS audits that has had to be pared back, has had to be narrowed again to get confirmation over the finish line. So it's clear that Todd Blanche is going to come in with some expectations that he will try and reorient the Justice Department to a more independent Justice Department.
Our great friend Jared Halpern joining us now. I suppose we should talk about the Strait of Hormuz and Oman and Iran making deals, or the latest there.
I mean, I think it's still the status quo. President Trump has indicated that he thinks this is going to happen. He had suggested earlier this week that it was probably a matter of days. That timeline has kind of been extended and passed. But the president says he is involved in these talks, that Iran is involved in these talks, Oman is involved in these talks. So far, we've not seen anything written down. We've not seen anything agreed to. We also haven't seen the U.S. resume airstrikes. So perhaps that is an indication that talks are moving forward. But even if there is a deal, there will certainly be a lot of questions about what it entails and why it is different than the memorandum of understanding that was signed a couple of months ago that fell by the wayside in pretty short order. So even if something comes together here over the weekend, expect a lot of skepticism and a lot of hard questions for the administration.
Jared, anything else we should be looking out for?
The last day here for the Senate before they head out on a 5-week recess, they got a lot to do. Obviously, they're going to try and get this Blanche confirmation done. They're going to try and get something done with a short-term spending bill to kind of fund government beyond the election. They are trying to get that NCAA college sports thing passed. I don't think that's going to happen today, but it could be a long night on C-SPAN 2 for all of our Senate watchers. So happy Friday, everybody.
Jared Halpern, we appreciate you. Have a great weekend, sir.
All right.
Back to Eric in Cuna at 580 KIDO. Hello, Eric.
Hi. Yeah, I'd like a 5-week recess. That'd be great. Don't they take 5-week recesses every 5 weeks? But anyway, what I was saying was the reason Islamists are aligning with communism and socialism is because it kind of goes back to that suicidal empathy, inequality thing, and that's the way they get the foothold. And it's not just the Islamists. I mean, you can put that with, like what you're talking about in Seattle, with, drug addicts. And we're really lucky here in Boise because in big cities, it's pretty bad. I mean, you got these people, they're hunched over and they're like half asleep. They call it the fent bend or something. Now, I've never seen it here, but in big cities like Salt Lake, Portland, Seattle, L.A., there are certain parts of town where just people are like zombies. They're just hunched over, like high on fentanyl or heroin or something. And it's pretty bad. So we are lucky here in Boise, even with the kooky mayor. I think the reason that Boise is safe and this area is good is because of the professionalism of all the police departments, because they're right on stuff here. And that's good, especially sex offenders. So, but I don't know. I'm just saying the suicidal empathy is gonna ruin our country. And that's the thing with the Islamists. They come in and then they cry racism, Islamophobia, and then people feel sorry for them. And then they're like, oh, yes, you can do this and you can do that. You can run for office. And pretty soon they take over an entire community. And then you got the loudspeakers with the Muslim call to prayer and all that stuff. It is not American. It's not. And the more we let them take over, their ultimate goal is Sharia law, not communism, Sharia law. But they align with communism because it's the easiest way to get a foothold in that suicidal empathy, inequality stuff. That's kind of like the premise of socialism anyway, is you got too much. And the crazy thing is these leftists don't understand that here in America, you can work hard and you can get all that you want if you work for it, And but these people, these crybaby leftists, are lazy, jealous. They don't want to work hard for anything. They want to sit back on their butt and look at somebody like Elon Musk or somebody that worked their butt off to get where they're at and complain that they have too much money. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's how they get the foothold. That's how communism takes a foothold, is suicidal empathy. Oh, this poor baby group, and wah, just like these prisoners that, think they have the right to become a woman when they're in prison. And they're actually entertaining the idea. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, you're in prison, dude. So stay in prison, and then maybe when you get out of prison, you can raise the money to mutilate yourself. Other than that, the state should not be paying for sex change operations. So stupid. And it all stems right back to that suicidal empathy. And that's what we've been having for the last 20 years, is the left ideology has taken over perception of, a lot of people. The left ideology takes over perception, and that's what happens. Let's just tolerate everything. Give me a break. We need to be standing up. And I'm with Mark. I don't understand how people from other countries come in here with their crazy ideologies and get elected, like to mayor or Congress, like Ilhan and Mandami and all of them. They come in here, they point their finger at us and say our culture's bad and you have to adapt to us. And it's wrong. It's wrong. And we got to stand up and resist this stuff, or we're not going to have a country. That's what will happen.
Eric, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate you, Kevin. You're the best. You have an awesome day.
Well, have a great day. God bless our friend Eric in Cuna. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's tell you about our friends at Team Mazda. Aaron and Joel, they're working for you day in and day out. We love them. They do such a great job. They've helped us for years with charitable works, and, of course, they love being a proud member of the community. And they're down with Pink and 5, and you're going to go, what's up with Pink and 5 at Team Mazda? The number 5 and the color pink, they can save you money. That's right. Let's start with Pink tags. They're used to tag specially priced cars over the lot. They're dependable, low-mileage vehicles priced under $20,000. For example, there's a 2025 Kia Soul for just $18,000, a really nice Nissan Rogue for $19,900, and a 2-year Mitsubishi Mirage for only $14,000. The best part is the Pink Tag specials change almost every day, so you've got to walk through the lot to see what's new. Now let's talk about the number 5. What is that? Uno, cinco, dos, tres, cuatro? Is that cuatro? Uno, cinco, dos, tres, siete? Anyway, how about this? Cinco. Thank you, Bo. Cinco. 5. The number Cinco, 5. At Team, it's called 5-It. Not Cinco-It, but 5-It. Buy with just $5 down and make no payments for 5 months. That's a great option if you need a newer vehicle, but you'd rather hold on to your cash until later this year. Don't forget, Team gives you up to 130% of book value for your trade. 130% of book value for your trade with a minimum $2,000 trade allowance, no matter what the condition of the vehicle you're bringing in is. So, Pink and 5-It. Visit Team Mazda in the pre-owned superstore on the Boulevard or get pre-approved today at GoTeamCredit.com. That's GoTeamCredit.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you missed any of our interaction with Alex Simone or Jeff Bacon, you can catch the replay on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast, right? That's what it's about.
Another term is...
And there we have it. How about that? We'll try that again in a minute. A lot of gremlins this morning. Do we have the president here? Doesn't look like too many gremlins rolling on this morning here. We're going to hear what the president has to say. He had a chance to interview with the noted news outlet called Punch Bowl News. Yeah, that's a real outlet. Punch Bowl News. and they talked to him about the Senate.
I say, as long as we all know that they're going to do it, I'm so shocked to hear you, but as long as I know that they're going to do that, you do it. I would do it whether they did it or not. We would get, in the next 2.5 years, we would get things that nobody ever dreamt of. We would be in office for the next 100 years. And I'll tell you what, if they get in, I may be the last Republican president.
Let's talk about the House.
If they don't get smart, if the Senate doesn't get smart, I may be the last Republican president. That's a big statement.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's right, but who knows? We'll see.
I say...
There we have it, the president. And then they said, this is Mark, the watchdog of Eagles' favorite Senate Republican. Hey, what do you make of that John Thune? Hey, what do you think of Thune?
Do you want Thune to serve another term as leader? Would you support him?
Well, I don't want to get into that as early, but...
Why?
I'll tell
a lot of people are thinking about it. This is a big issue.
I get along with him. It's unfortunate that he doesn't have the votes.
But do you actually get along with him?
I do.
But you clearly you have big disagreements.
I do have disagreements. I believe strongly in terminating the filibuster. And by the way, getting Save America Act approved immediately, and about 400 other things in every hour of every day. Boom, boom, boom. You get whatever you want. You get.
Democrats would do it too, though, right? They'd get.
Well, they're going to do that. They're going to do that. If they get in, they're going to do it very quickly. I mean, you're wrong on that one.
We'll see.
They're going to do that so fast. And
do you want Thune?
And there we have it. More coming up next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. And Turning Point USA decided to go in, and a lot of good young people that are very brave that are doing these investigative reports. Let's take a listen.
Hernandez in front of Seattle's $165 million public library. Now, this library is 11 stories, has 10,000 windows. It's the most expensive library in all of Washington, and it is unfortunately overrun with the homeless. Now, the homeless issue is just one aspect of this library, and I was reading reviews, and people have talked about getting nearly attacked by the homeless, how there are foul odors in this library, that rats are often in the area due to the trash and junk collecting around the building. People state they've been harassed by the homeless here, and even the restrooms are unusable due to the homeless utilizing them to bathe or in some cases shoot up drugs. Now, I can attest to all of this because I went and I did a walkthrough of this library myself, and I witnessed several women, especially women with their children, straight up turn the other way and refuse to use the elevator because of how many homeless men were trying to get on it, or straight up turn around and walk the opposite direction because somebody was having some type of drug-induced psychosis. Now, another crazy thing about this library is on the 5th floor, they offer free fentanyl test strips and injectable Narcan with syringes that are open and available for anyone to just come pick up and take, including children. These objects can be found on a table and they are very accessible, so a curious child could potentially come and pick this up very easily at the Seattle Downtown Public Library. Now, I wanted to come here because there's an upcoming property tax increase that's going to be voted on by residents, with the city trying to raise $480 million for maintenance and security for not only this library, but the 27 library branches across the city. Now, to give you an example of some of the maintenance needs for this library, one of the 9th floor windows was broken from the inside. I wonder how that happened. The plumbing system is also being clogged by clothing and other items being flushed down the toilet. So a little idea of what's going on in this $165 million building. On top of that, going back to the windows, each one costs $30,000. And by the way, all 10,000 windows do need to be replaced just for basic upkeep and maintenance. And they can only be created by one company in Italy that produced them, meaning it's going to...
Boy, it's too bad we couldn't have Window World Boise go there and help our friends in Seattle.
Cost $300 million just to replace the windows. Now, I wanted to highlight that to give you guys an idea of how this $480 million budget might sound like a lot of money. However, it's barely enough to cover the maintenance for just one of the libraries in the Seattle area. There is still 26 more that need maintenance and security. By the way, a couple million of this budget is going to be going toward creating a new Office of Inclusion and Belonging for the library system, because of course it is. So just wanted to give you guys an idea of what Seattle's $165 million library looked like, how the homeless crisis was going in this area, and also how the budgeting was going under Seattle's Democratic Socialist Mayor, Katie Wilson.
There we have it. Our friends at Turning Point USA, outstanding work. Outstanding work here when we're thinking of going into this Seattle Public Library. And I can remember, and I don't know if he's listening right now, but one of the goofiest jobs that Liberal Steve had, when I think he retired the first or second or third time, decided to become a security guard. And so what a lot of people do is they share unique pictures with me. So what Liberal Steve would do, and this was during the Dave Beater administration, he would go in, and we were all new to this, but you would see people that are homeless, and the weather wasn't too bad, but hanging out at the Boise Public Library, downtown Boise, and there would be problems. There would be serious problems with security and people sleeping and doing all sorts of things. Not as bad as Seattle, but clearly you have issues. And what happens when you don't have standards? What happens when you don't have a dedication to keeping things clean, orderly, ethically sound, moral, and sanitary? Well, you have Seattle, unfortunately. By the way, today is National Purple Heart Day, where we honor those folks that served our military who have been wounded in action or in training. I believe in training as well, but perhaps just wounded in action. Or those that have passed on because the cause, our freedom, America, Idaho. Their family was more important than themselves. And they made the ultimate sacrifice defending America. All of us, right here at 580 KIDO, the Treasure Valley, the state of Idaho, our country owes those folks, and maybe you're listening right now, a deep debt of gratitude to those heroes and their families for their incredible bravery and devotion to duty, a devotion to service, an amazing, amazing sacrifice. So thank you very much. And if you see somebody, I know people have license plates and other things with their Purple Hearts. If you know someone who received a Purple Heart, please acknowledge them. Kind of like what, to quote Jonathan Savage, acknowledge them. Roman Reigns, if you will, through Jonathan Savage. Thank you. Thank you for your great service as we move along. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I want to thank our friends at Peak Health Idaho. That's their website, Peak Personalized Healthcare. We'll tell you about them in a minute. Kevin Miller on your home for Fox News, 580-KIDO.
Carolina wins! Kane's king! King of the night!
There you have it from NBC Sports. Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth calling the first game of the season, the NFL Hall of Fame game, like the finish of the Super Bowl.
Look at them. Whole team's out there mobbing them. It's party time in Canton, Ohio.
There you have it, the birthplace of professional football, Canton, Ohio, with a stadium that seats like 30,000 people, if that. It's a high school stadium. And here you have all these people that maybe they'll be cut, maybe it'll be this, but for the night, for the day, actually winning and winning very big.
I tell you what, he pulled it out, didn't he? I mean, when he had to have it, take off and run. Let's go to your top skill. And he got it done. Completed great passes. That's so cool. Love it. Great night in Canton.
All right, so much for the sports. Let's get back to the sauce. Kevin Miller in the morning, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. President Trump signing 2 executive orders yesterday. We got both of them at the KIDO Talk Radio Broadcast Center, targeting birthright citizenship, ending the tourism. That can't come to America and go to Disneyland and have a kid, and they're a citizen, according to the president.
President Trump signing a pair of executive orders targeting birthright citizenship. The president spoke at the White House yesterday. Watch.
We're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in, and we're not going to let it happen.
So one executive order outlaws birth tourism. The other narrows the criteria for who would be eligible for birthright citizenship. It all comes after the Supreme Court struck down the president's order looking to limit automatic birthright citizenship altogether. President Trump signing a...
And there we have it. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And what you're not going to hear, and by the way, we have this story for you on our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. And in it, we're taking a look at what happened recently in Eagle, what happened recently in Nampa, where you have the ICE people going to construction sites. Now, I know our man in New Meadows goes, hey, Kevin Miller, and he's been saying this for years, you got a ton of people that are working on construction sites, building homes that don't speak English. Well, just because somebody doesn't speak English, does that mean they're not a citizen? Which, again, common sense, you would think that, well, those people that have become citizens legally, you have to pass a test and you have to pledge your allegiance to America. I don't know if you can do that if you don't speak the language. Now, heaven forbid we would be profiling people. So, a story that's been going online, there's been a few of them, okay? There's been a very progressive narrative in the local media. And the progressive narrative is at 580-5436, ICE is bad. ICE has caused problems. And yes, there have been some challenges with ICE where people have lost their lives. Now, it all comes down to how you view authority. And again, how it's positioned in the local media. When you have immigration attorneys, and again, this is not a replay. I talked about this at 6 a.m., but for the new audience, if you will. If you have, and this is, again, showing you, and it's weird. I've become the old sage, if you will. Yeah, saggy sage. Thank you very much, Sweet William. However, don't laugh at me. It'll go saggy for you one day. I don't care how thin you are. It sags. I'm talking about your arms or your legs. Saggy, right? Saggy Millie. So, and there we go. We lose our train of thought, and we go on to the silly and ridiculous as opposed to the steak. Not the sauce or the sizzle, the steak. So, we have immigration attorneys. And look, 30 years ago, I used to debate them when I was a baby host. And their job, again, is to advocate for their clients. A lot of them here illegally. Well, I would imagine all of them are here illegally if they're an immigration attorney. So they see the bias and the naivete of these local reporters, and they're biased. Kevin, they're too young to have a bias. They're a bias. When have we heard a story pro-law enforcement? Have you heard a pro-law enforcement story? I haven't. So building upon that, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we have this story that Nampa construction site, ICE went to investigate. Everybody ran. If you're not guilty, you don't run. And then the Wilder raid or the arrests and the lawsuits. Never mind, people were there illegally doing things. We have to have this negative narrative that enforcing immigration is a bad thing. And then we have the big business people that say, look, we're addicted to the illegal labor. We can't do our jobs. Look, we had almighty Tea Party Bob yesterday going, well, you know, Kevin, I can't do Tea Party Bob's voice. where he goes, if you get rid of the people that are here illegally, all the businesses are going to suffer. Well, should have hired American. Well, that's ruthless. That's cruel. Tell that to the taxpayers. Tell that to everyone that is subsidizing the people that are here illegally. So here are two stories. One of them is a person in Eagle working a construction site that, and this guy has either some ignorance or some courage. Now, if a federal authority came up to me, I'm not going to be a tough guy. Well, you haven't been a tough guy since 86. You're right about that. I haven't. I'm a parody of a tough guy. However, whether it's local, state, or national, when someone from the feds comes up and speaks to you, anything you can say and do will be held against you. So why in the world would we have this? But we have people that, again, are deciding to be tough guys. And look, that's this person's right to be, this person's right to sound off to law enforcement. I would have not handled this situation this way, but people are there looking for people that are not legally allowed to be in this country. Now, some people say, well, Kevin, they're not criminals. Okay. Are they paying taxes? Are they paying medical? If you missed it, let's take a listen.
I understand you're working. What's your name? Who are you? You see who I am? Immigration. Huh? I'm immigration. I'm talking to you. Put down the phone. We're working, man. Okay, I told you to put down the phone. I'm giving you an order to put down the phone. Hey, man, I'm not telling you. I'm working.
So basically, this guy is slabbing the concrete, and the guy comes over and says, hey, show me your papers, this, that, and the other. Now, again, depending on maybe your age, maybe whether or not you're in the military, whether you're in law enforcement, your frame of reference, as they call it in education. Thank you, Dr. Thompson, from my classes at the University of Akron for frame of reference. Depending on your frame of reference, you're going to judge this a different way. Now, again, I don't know why this guy would do it, and then he's filming it, but okay, let's see how it plays out.
I'm working, bro. Where are you from, sir? Hey, I'm working. Can you get out of here? Hey, where are you from? You want to get out of here, bro? For somebody.
So here you have a guy with a badge and a gun and a flak vest and wearing a mask, and you're telling him to beat it? Holy moly.
I don't care. I'm working. Right, we're asking for you to identify yourself. Do you have an identification on you? I don't. You don't? No, sir. Right. What's your name? You need my name? Yes, sir. I'm a legal citizen, sir. You're a legal citizen? Yes, sir. Where were you born? That's all I need to tell you. Where were you born? Sir, can you please help? Let me work. I'm sitting still. Where were you born? Okay, let me go around you. Hey, where were you born? I was born here, bro. Let me work. Where at? Let me work. Where at? Where are you born? I'm doing some real work here, buddy. Awesome, man. Where are you born? I can't let this country drive. We're looking for somebody. Okay, well, go look for him. Go look for him and don't bother me. Where are you from? Don't talk to me. Okay, you can record all you want. Where are you from? You're from the United States? Look at them. Born here? You guys are speeding through here, bro. That's not us. Where are you born? United States? Hey, easy. Bro, you're walking into me. I'm walking next to you. Get off of me, dog. Where were you born? Holy United smokes. Huh? What's your name? You were born in the United States or no? What's your name? I'm asking you.
I got to tell you, and maybe we'll have an attorney call in. I think they could have arrested that guy. He's not cooperating. The officers showed a bunch of restraint. Before we get to Cowboy Calvin, Cowboy, hang on. What the local media isn't telling you, what's going on across the country.
A massive ICE operation led to the arrest of over 1,200 illegal migrants. Over 700 of them had either been convicted or charged with crimes in the U.S. Take a look at just some of those arrested with criminal histories, including sexual battery, aggravated assault, domestic violence, and cruelty to children. Here for that Fox and Friends exclusive is the head of ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations, the ERO division, is Marcos Charles. Marcos, thanks for joining us. Tell us about this Georgia operation and what it netted.
Morning, Griff. Thanks for having me on the show. Look, as you said, we arrested over 1,200 illegal aliens out in the Atlanta, Georgia area. More than half of those people had criminal histories. And as you said, we're talking about sex crimes, assault and battery, some with DUI convictions, even domestic violence. These individuals needed to be taken off the street, not only because they're criminals, but because they're here illegally in the United States. I'm very proud of the men and women of ICE, ERO, that are out there on the streets every day making these arrests and keeping our community safe. It was a tremendous success out in the Georgia area. The majority of these arrests were in the Atlanta suburbs and city, but these arrests were going on throughout the state. And not just that, I mean, this one operation, as I said, was a great success. However,
700 prior convictions. Let's go to Cowboy Calvin with Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Good morning, Americans. Kevin, the situation in Seattle at the library exists. It has for a long time. This is no new news. Portland is the same, maybe even worse. It's a bad place to go. Now nobody even wants to go down to downtown Portland because of the crime. The police response is inappropriate. They don't care. Anything goes.
Yeah, and we've seen this where they took over sections of the city, blocks, and everything else. And, I had a buddy of mine that just went to Seattle and said it was really, really bad. Really bad. I mean, they just had a shooting there, and incompetent mayor fired the police chief. And yet, people still love that place, and never mind how expensive it is to live there.
You're very correct. It's very expensive, but it's very common. Every other day in Portland there's a shooting. I wake up at nights when I'm there hearing gunshots, and nobody really reports that because it's the norm.
Yeah, I like that Channel 12 in Oregon. They do a lot of work there in Portland. But you're right. It's shooting this. It's defecating that. It's burn this and that. And, woke this and that as well. It's pretty wild stuff.
And you could walk around the library down there. You see needles all over the sidewalk and trash and this and that. I belonged to a credit union there for over 50 years. They had the homeless people had the entrance blocked. I approached the manager. He really didn't care. He said, "It's your problem." I said, "No, it's our problem, and you need to take care of it." But people are very passive about what is happening.
Well, that's all the dope they're smoking.
That and it's just total chaos, disarray. As far as the illegals go, Kevin, we have the same problem in Caldwell. Quite often I see these guys drive triples in town. They're not even supposed to be driving triples, and I doubt very much if they were checked, they're licensed to drive triples. They probably don't even have a CDL license. So, if the police did their part in checking this, it wouldn't escalate where it's at.
I would agree with you.
And a lot of these people are subcontractors, but we need to keep the employers part of the problem and go after them because they're knowingly breaking the laws.
Well, you're right about that. I would agree with you.
And then, the bottom line, it comes down to the safety on the roads. It's we have these certain rules and regulations to keep everyone safe. Can you imagine somebody that doesn't know how to drive a truck, drive a triples?
Yeah. No, I mean, driving a triple's pretty wild, if you will.
Yeah, I for years drove dump trucks and this and that, but it's with all my experience, I must say that driving triples is very difficult.
Cowboy Calvin, you have a great weekend, sir.
You too. Happy trails, Mr. Miller.
Happy trails. Well, I don't know what's going to happen with this next guy. Is he Idaho's Mr. Happy? He doesn't like taking criticism. He can't follow direction. He is Tea Party Bob at 580 KIDO. Hello, TPB.
You want to talk about somebody who can't follow direction? That's my good friend Kevin Miller. But indeed, we still get along. I don't know how, but we still get along. What do you think?
Now, you've made a statement that way. I need you to back that up there, Bunky.
You love changing the subject, don't you?
You're the one that called me out.
Surprise, Bob. We're changing the subject. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, I'm not getting off my subject. I got some important information I want to get across today, so just let me do what I have to do, okay?
Oh, in other words, just shut up and listen. Eat your grasshoppers, yes. Kevin Miller. Okay, I get it. Yeah, okay, hold on. Okay, I'm turning...
For dessert.
Okay, you're going to hear my voice cut off. I'm turning off my...
Oh, thank you. All right, I want to thank Mark from Eagle for his dissertation on what has been happening for years. You know, Kevin, I have written and talked about the problem with our public education system for the past 10 years, but no one seems to care. We just throw more and more money at it, but it never changes. If you think for 1 minute that our children have not been the subject of propaganda campaigns by liberal teachers, you haven't been paying attention. If you want to know why 20 and 30-somethings don't have much knowledge about Western civilization, civics, or U.S. history, it is because of what is being taught in our current education system, which has been augmented by those who choose the material used to teach our kids. Civics and historical knowledge among our children has measurably declined, and the trend shows up clearly in a nation's report card, where we find 8th grade history scores dropped about 40% since 2014. And these kids cannot today identify simple historical concepts. When you think about the fact that large segments of Americans can't identify the 3 branches of government or the basic constitutional facts, 20 and 30-somethings know far less civics and history than earlier generations. And I have said many times that these changes in our education system started back in the 1960s. And the trend accelerated with the advent of No Child Left Behind. Well, we left them all behind, which tied funding to accountability to reading and math test scores, which have been continuing to drop over the last decade. While history and civics were tested, by the way, they have such lower scores you don't even want to talk about them. By 2022, fewer than half the 8th graders were in classes mainly focused on civics or history. And the DSA movement we're seeing definitely has some of its roots in identifiable domestic conditions such as student debt, housing costs, healthcare anxiety, and wage stagnation. And much of the blame for these issues can be put on 4 years of an incompetent Joe Biden. I also think a free society can lose itself not by the invasion, but by how we have gradually lost shared values, critical thinking, and trust, all of which we can point to have taken place over the last 20 or 30 years. The promise is made to our kids that if they got a good college education, they would pretty much be set for life with a good job, but that turned out to be a lie, as what they were taught in the colleges was a lot of liberal garbage by liberal professors who wanted to make a change in this country. Just look at the voting we recently saw in the Michigan election for Said, who won by winning those areas that had more college-educated voters and did not win those areas that had those that did not have the college educations. You know, this is pretty interesting, and I think we're going to see more of this around the country. You know, for decades, you are sadly mistaken when you think back that statistics show how 80 to 90% of our college professors today are of the liberal persuasion, and bring that persuasion into our classrooms. You only need to look at the activism that has taken place in our colleges and universities. When you look at these, well, I can't say they're riots, but these protests against Jews and for Palestine. You don't think these were instigated by these wild liberal professors? Take another look, my friend. This should be a wake-up call to all Americans who care about our future. This change we have seen didn't happen overnight. It took a few decades. And the only way we're going to change it is to change the education process and give parents an opportunity to choose their schools for their children or whether they're going to be schooled at home. Without that, this is just going to continue on. And I thank you very much for my time.
Well, that was a lot.
Well, there's a lot to say here, Kevin. Let's face it. We look at the education system here. We spend $3.5 billion here just in Idaho, and the numbers seem to go up every year. But do we get a better education product?
There's no return on investment. Tea Party Bob, we appreciate you. GemStatePatriot.com. Hey, want to tell you about our friends at Peak Personalized Healthcare, in other words, known as PeakHealthIdaho.com. I was there yesterday, and I got to tell you a personal story here. This is some people would say it's embarrassing, some people wouldn't. And people say, "How's the weight loss going?" Well, we're right there at 130. I told you, we're working with Dr. Lyle. I had a great session with Sean and Roxy, and I've got my glucose monitor, and for years and years, my man Jeremy Fricks will tell you, at Primary Health, I was pre-diabetic, diabetic, post-diabetic. Now I'm not diabetic, but I wanted to see the impact food has on me. I remember our friend Art Gregory's talking about, like, when he would have the oats and his glucose would spike. So I'm trying to keep it in range. So this is part of the process. At Peak Personalized Healthcare, their number, 683-7325. I was talking to my friend Kristen at the dentist. It was a busy day for me yesterday. And she said, "Well, Kevin, what's going on here?" I said, "Look, this is led by a physician, Dr. Eric Lyle. We're talking longevity medicine, Boise, Meridian, Eagle, all over the Treasure Valley, Nampa. We're talking about the gold standard in longevity medicine. If you're looking at what Dr. Peter Attia is about, this is what Dr. Lyle is about as well." And I'm looking at his VO2 max, and it's like double what mine is. And what I love about the folks at Peak is you go in, and there's not a lot of judgment, but we've discovered a baseline for me. So I wanted to do my VO2 max again, and I couldn't put that thing on, man. I get the claustrophobia, and I had a tough day. And Sean goes, "Oh, Kevin Miller, we can still do this a different way." And he did. And he goes, "Look, Sean is the guy that helps you with the exercise, degree in psychology, degree in exercise physiology. So he's uniquely suited to help folks get in the right frame of mind and the right shape." And we're not just talking about physical fitness or losing weight. We're talking about cholesterol balance, fatty acid balance, genetic testing, coronary calcium scores, advanced lipid particles. All these things can be measured and led by Dr. Eric Lyle, Beverly, Roxy, Sean, Kristen. Objective data to get you where you want to be. If you want to, embrace health, being healthy and wellness and everything else, they can do it for you. Give them a call today. Please tell them, please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. We are working with them to get me healthy, and they can get you healthy. 683-7325, peakhealthidaho.com, 683-7325. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 580. Sean Hannity today, Clay and Buck, also Lars Larson, and boom, Glenn Beck will put you to sleep or bring you home or anything else. You know, it's been a while since we've heard from our friend Sarah Sanders. Now, people say, you mean Sarah Huckabee Sanders? No, she's very traditional, very old school. When she talks about being married, it's Sarah Sanders. Here's what she had to say about the state of politics today.
Before, I'll say it again, it's no longer about right versus left. It's about normal versus crazy. And right now we are seeing the crazy side take over the Democrat Party. As much as I hate to see these ideas gain steam, I think it is good for us to draw the contrast as we head into the midterm elections. The other side wants to promote socialism while our side wants to promote and protect freedom. We want to see what this country was founded on. The reason America is great, the reason people literally risk their lives to come to this country is because we're the freest country in the world, and they want to take that away. They want to ruin everything that is special and unique and different about America and crush our country. It is unbelievable, but we have to make that contrast unbelievably clear. And as they continue to promote more and more socialist candidates, we have to continue to educate and remind people of the difference. And I think it's going to pay off, and we're going to win much bigger in November if they continue to move so far to the left and continue to promote socialist candidates. This is no longer in New York and California. You're seeing this in the mainstream of the Democrat Party. Socialism is dangerous, and we've got to be sure we fight back against it and win big in November because of it.
You know, what an incredible run for her. And years ago, she was known as Mike Huckabee's daughter. And I want to say it was 88, but it wasn't 88. It was what, 2000 maybe? 2010? No, 2008. It must have been 2008. And then 2012. Maybe he ran 3 times. Anyway, Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, a very nice, likable guy. A very nice, likable guy. Grassroots dude, not a lot of money, ran for the presidency, didn't make it, but he, you know, had a message. And his daughter became the spokesperson for Donald Trump. And lo and behold, family lady, nice lady. Then she becomes the governor of Arkansas like her dad. What a wonderful, articulate young American young woman. And I say that because during the first Trump administration, you had people that were attacking the Trump people at restaurants, and she happened to be one of them. Like, who in their right mind does that? It's just crazy. One thing that isn't crazy is our friends at Treasure Valley Trucks. If you want a big truck without the big truck price, TreasureValleyTrucks.com, TreasureValleyTrucks.com. The used truck center at Treasure Valley Subaru, where you'll find like-new trucks for half the price of brand-new trucks. Maybe you need a Super Duty for the job site or a big RV or something to pull the big RV or a heavy trailer. The problem is brand-new heavy-duty trucks can cost you well into the 6 figures, and that's a lot of money for a truck that's going to be put to work. Instead, do this. Check out the inventory at TreasureValleyTrucks.com. You'll find big trucks from Ford, Ram, Chevy, and GMC priced tens of thousands less than new. And if you want a half-ton truck, well, they've got plenty of them. F-150s, Ram 1500s, Toyota Tacomas, and other everyday pickups. The Treasure Valley Trucks lot is easy to find. Just pull into Treasure Valley Subaru, and you'll see a dedicated truck section with rows of pickups ready to compare side by side at your convenience. Treasure Valley Trucks, please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Good day. God bless. Keep the faith. And yes, Kevin Miller loves you on 580 KIDO.